Today is June 23rd, and the time is 7:03. And I just want to remind everyone, we have a lot of new faces here, to make sure you put a parking pass on your dashboard so that you don't get a ticket from the police. Parking passes are downstairs mounted on the door. City Clerk, I'll ask you to call the roll and discuss the meeting participation notes, please.
Start the roll call with Councilmember Wright.
Present.
Councilmember Espinoza. Councilmember Beer. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Here.
And Mayor Beckmeyer is joining us remotely.
Present.
Mayor Beckmeyer is joining us remotely from a remote location, teleconferencing in. And this is in accordance with the Brown Act, as her location has been posted in the agenda. And Mayor Beckmeyer have a few questions to ask of you in compliance with the Brown Act. Mayor Beckmeyer, can you hear me well?
Yes.
And were you able to hear the proceeding well up to now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
I do.
And has the agenda been posted at the location where you are?
Yes.
Is the location where you are reasonably accessible to the public, such that any member of the public could participate from the location where you are if they wish to do so?
Yes.
Is there any member of the public there with you now who would like to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting or address the council on any agenda items?
No, there is not.
Okay, and Mayor Pro Tem Bowles will periodically check in with you or watch for your raised hand for participation in the meeting. Feel free to speak up if you wish to interject or have a question and are not being acknowledged. And Mayor Beckmeyer, with your remote participation, we'd ask that you be on screen if you can while you are participating actively in the meeting.
No problem. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Perfectly.
Okay. It's a little echoey in this room, but I'll do my best.
Okay. Thank you, Sue, and welcome. Glad you could join us.
Thank you so much, and thanks to staff for all the extra effort to make this possible.
Okay, well, I'm going to start by reading our land acknowledgement. The City of Pacifica acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all the peoples who reside in their traditional territory. We affirm the sovereign rights as First People and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. Thank you. And now if Councilmember Weir can lead us into the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we'll turn our attention to the consent calendar and wanted to ask if any council members wanted to pull any items.
We have a special present.
Oh, sorry. See, I'm already messing up. Thank you for watching me.
Great. Doing great.
This is my first time leading a meeting, so I appreciate everyone's help and patience. We have a special presentation in recognition of Parks and Recreation Month that I will read. And Scott Leslie, Director of Parks and Recreation, if you don't mind coming up. Thank you. No problem. Oh, we got a whole nice crowd here to joining Scott today.
Sue, there's so many staff here.
Yeah. Okay, I'll read this lovely proclamation. Whereas parks, beaches, and recreation services are an essential part of the city of Pacifica, supporting the health, well-being, and quality of life for residents and visitors alike. And whereas the City of Pacifica's Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Department, PB&R, provides a wide range of inclusive and enriching programs, including youth and senior services, licensed childcare, sports activities, summer camps, enrichment classes, cultural events, and community celebrations. And whereas Pacifica's recreational assets such as Frontierland Park, the Pacifica Community Center, beaches, and numerous parks and trails offer residents and visitors opportunities to engage in physical activity, connect with nature, and enjoy the unique beauty of our coastal city. And whereas PB&R promotes health and wellness by encouraging active lifestyles through aquatic programming, fitness, enrichment, and recreation activities free or at low cost for all ages. And whereas the department supports childhood development and academic success through childcare services, after-school programs, summer youth camps, and the Leaders in Training Education Light initiative, which fosters creativity and leadership. And whereas the department provides essential services, including meal distribution through the senior nutrition program, Meals on Wheels, senior services and transportation, and community support through emergency sheltering and event logistics. And whereas Parks and Recreation enhances economic development by increasing tourism, improving property values, and supporting local businesses through special events and facility rentals. And whereas Pacifica's beaches, parks, and open spaces preserve ecological beauty, enhance environmental sustainability, and serve as resilient infrastructure to help mitigate climate impacts and promote coastal stewardship. And whereas this year's National Recreation and Park Association theme, Build Together, Play Together, highlights the contributions of more than 160,000 full-time park and recreation professionals, along with hundreds of thousands of part-time and seasonal workers and volunteers who maintain our country's close-to-home parks and positively impact community health and well-being. And whereas the City of Pacifica proudly recognizes and celebrates the dedication of our own parks, beaches, and recreation staff and volunteers who serve our community with passion and commitment. Now, therefore, I, Christine Bowles, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby proclaim July 25th as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Pacifica, done this 23rd day of June, 2025. Council members, would you like to, should we have Scott speak first? Okay.
Should I go?
Go for it, Scott.
All right. City Council, I'm Scott Leslie, the Director of Park, Beaches, and Recreation, and we are here to celebrate the month of July and all the many things that both the Park and Recreation Department and the Parks Division of the Public Works and Public Works in general, and of course our PBR Commission have put on or put together for all year round, but particularly for July. We want to invite the community to take part of a summer full of recreation programs, events, and opportunities to enjoy our parks, beaches, and our trails. Just a quick snapshot for the month of July. We kick off the month with, of course, our 4th of July celebration over at Frontierland Park, which is going to have rides, it's going to have events, it's going to have a lot of fun, old-fashioned recreation opportunities for people who have been to it before. That it's always a great time. Everyone's invited. We want the whole community to come out. That it's available. We also have our rocket run that same day, a 5-mile race starting at 9 a.m. for those who really want to get up early on their day off. For the other events and programs that happen during the month of July, the senior programming includes, of course, our 4th of July luncheon, our rummage sales, our day trips, but also our Meals on Wheels and Congregate lunch program, which operate year-round, but in the month of July, we'll be giving out 3,000 meals, and our senior transportation, which provides 400 trips per month. For child care services, there's going to be 420 children served daily, While in the month of July, many of them will receive swim lessons, some subsidized partly through the scholarship through Pacificans Care. We're going to have environmental shows. We're going to have trips to the Oakland Zoo, Coal Canyon for swimming, a little bit of Kona ice visit for the days when it gets hot, which I assume will be happening very soon, at least hopeful. For our aquatics division, over at the Genie Brink Pool, we have our Wet and Wild water camp that will have at least 1 week during the month. Of course, our swim lessons, our recreation swims, which occur almost every day. I think that's Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 1 to 3, and of course, Mondays and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. We invite people to enjoy when, the pool, it is indoor pool, even days like today, it's always the very same temperature. For our recreation division, last but not least, there is a venture camp which is nearly sold out over at Ortega School, our Leaders in Training teen program where they volunteer within the community, particularly our camps and programs. And of course, our adult classes, including tango, salsa, yoga classes, tai chi, jewelry making, and all sorts of other fun and great opportunities that we offer throughout the year, but in particular during the summer. We also invite the public to enjoy the outdoors, to walk, bike, relax at Frontierland Park, at Roy Davies Playground up at the north end, at the Sanchez Dog Park, at the Pacifica Municipal Pier, just right out here, and at many of our great local beaches and scenic trails. And we want to give a special thanks, a shout out to the recreation staff, some of whom are behind me, but also the great public works crews who maintain our facilities and make it so that we have these wonderful opportunities, not just in the month of July, but year-round. And we encourage everyone to connect with the many programs, events, and outdoor spaces so that they can have a fun and adventurous 2025. So, thank you very much.
And Vice Mayor Bowles, with your permission, I'd like to ask Director Leslie to introduce the staff since they're here.
Okay, great.
We messed up some people's names, so why don't you guys come up and say your names, because you guys never get a chance to do this. And if I say your names wrong, I'll be embarrassed.
I'm Tracy Gilbert, Recreation Supervisor.
Yeah, legend.
Good evening, Anthony Shriver, Recreation Supervisor.
Amber Shong, Recreation Supervisor.
Mindy Tia, Recreation Supervisor.
Sabrina Kren, Recreation Specialist.
Eva Tao, Child Care Assistant Supervisor.
Jeanette Rooseville, for the last year, I was a Recreation Specialist.
And Stephanie Douglas, Recreation Manager.
Oh, yay. Thank you all so much for being here. So I want to ask you to stay there. We're going to have some council comments, and then we'll open it up to the public. But then afterwards, we want to take a picture with all of you and give you the proclamation. So don't go away. So council members, would like to make a comment?
I'm happy to.
All of us are ready.
Okay, go for it, Myra.
Well, I'm so excited that you guys got this proclamation. I got to know some of you, and I'm so happy that you guys are the people who do all of those events around the city. We really need them. So this is another way to engage the community, and I really, really appreciate you guys. And we were able to do the egg hunt in Fairmont, and everybody was so happy, and I want to thank you for doing that. The kids were so happy. Well, Greg was there, so the kids were so happy. We were trying to give directions and stuff like that, but nobody was listening. So I thought it was a great event, and thank you so much for everything you guys do.
Thanks, Myra.
Sure. My experience with Parks and Rec started long before I ever was on Planning Commission or City Council. I met Mr. Shriver many, many years ago trying to schedule fields for a soccer tournament once way back when, and I used to be at board meetings all the time at Crespi Center. And I've had nothing but positive interactions. That was a great time at that egg hunt, and I've seen nothing but exemplary professionalism and a sense of community that's built and brought about in large part here because of you. And I just want to thank you all very much, and not just those of you that are here, but those of you that aren't here as well. Thanks again.
I mean, where would we be without parks, beaches, and recreation? I have no idea. Thank you so much for everything. And you know, I really love seeing all the staff here. We have like historical knowledge and like brand new faces and like everything in between. I think that's really important. Our recreation department is just, it's amazing, and the amount of joy and education and exercise and all those things you bring to our community, it's priceless. Our senior services in particular is just so robust and wonderful. I keep telling my sister, maybe you should go down to the senior center. She's like, I'm not a senior. Actually, yeah, you are. But you know, I feel like once someone goes down there, then they have so much fun, they don't want to leave. So that's what it's all about. Thank you all so very much.
Yeah. And thank you, Mary. And Sue, did you want to say anything?
I just want to add my appreciation for all that you do. The longevity of some of our staff is what helps with institutional knowledge and bringing forward what we've done in the past and incorporating that into what we do moving into the future. My wish is that we had more robust facilities to conduct all the programs in. I have a hard time accepting when we go to some of the meetings over the hill and seeing the recreation facilities that other communities are able to provide, and hope for one day Pacifica to have that. But what we get done with what we have is outstanding. I always talk about our senior services and our Meals on Wheels program and how it's a scratch program, scratch cooking. That is not common, and I did not know that until I joined the city council. That Pacifica, the city of Pacifica, with the funding that we have, is able to continue to provide that when so many other cities have moved to a outsourced and where they warm the meals more than scratch cook is something else. And the group I want to also acknowledge that supports and really underlies so much of PB&R is our volunteers. It's really the glue. The volunteer core is the glue that helps staff be able to provide what we do. So grateful to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. And I just wanted to add, yeah, I've been going to the San Bruno pool a little bit because I was going to the pool here, and it's a little awkward when people want to talk to me when I'm dripping wet. But other things where I'm clothed are much more easier to participate in. And yeah, we would so love to help improve our facilities, you know, as we move forward. But I want to say, I love the part of this proclamation that also talks about our coastal beauty and the stewardship of our environment, because that is something that other cities do not have, right? And we really have this amazing resource here. And I just want to thank you. I mean, you're really caring for our community at all ages, from the little ones, the parents just struggling with, you know, young children and trying to work and making that possible, you know, all the way to seniors. And now I'm a senior. You only have to be 60. So it's really great that, you know, so many people can participate in your programs, your lunches, your outings, your classes. Just thank you for all you do for all of us. So I'll just open public comment, and then is there anyone here in the room?
Christine, one more thing I want to say.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I want to say before you guys go is
Don't
not
go
only
yet.
the great customer service that you guys provide, that's so amazing. It's just like you guys are like 100%. I felt like I was in a paying place that I was paying to be there because everybody was so accommodating and so nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So don't go away, because we're going to take a picture. But is there anyone in the room that wants to make a public comment? If you do come on, you can come on up and fill out a yellow card later. And if not, do we have anyone on the phone? Emily?
We have one raised hand, is for Brenton Tarrant.
Okay. Brenton, you can unmute yourself.
Let them know that it's about.
And this is only about the parks, beaches, and recreation recognition. There'll be time for
Oh, is this not public I apologize. Is this not a public comment for non-consent
No,
items?
I'll announce that later. So thank
Okay,
you.
I
Hold your
apologize.
question.
I apologize.
No worries. Okay, with that, I'll
There are no other raised hands.
close public comment, and you all want to come up and take a picture. Oh, wait, somebody's coming.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please state your name for the record.
Where did she go?
Hi.
My name's Connie Campbell. I live over on Paloma Avenue, but I want to tell the people, the Park and Rec people, that I go to physical therapy, and after physical therapy, I go to Frontierland Park, and I can do everything that I need to do in that park. Walking the dog, I can do all my exercises and do everything, and I really appreciate it. I hadn't been there a whole lot until recently, so I love it. It's so well done. People are so nice over there. The workers are so great. I enjoy it. The dog loves it. I love it. The kids love it. It's terrific. I love it. Place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Connie. Okay. With that, I'll close public comment, and we'll come up and take a photo.
So we can do more of that.
Okay. So now we'll turn our attention to the consent calendar. City Manager Woodhouse, I'm not sure if you wanted to address item 7 now or after we see if anyone wants to pull an item.
Why don't I mention it now, and then if that item is pulled, we can clarify.
Okay.
So on item 7, regarding the sewer system master plan recertification, we're recommending that there are some minor administrative changes, non-substantive administrative cleanup edits required to the plan, and that as part of the motion for approval, if it's being approved tonight, is that we're directed to, finalize those cleanups before submittal.
All right, and council members, would anyone like to pull any items off consent?
No, thank you.
No? Mayor Beckmeyer? No? Okay. Well, I'm actually going to pull 2, I'm sorry. Items 3 and item 7. So we'll hear those later. Are there comments on items other than 3 or 7, or questions from council? Or I can open public comment on those other items. Okay. So I'm opening public comment on the consent calendar. I have one card here for item 5 from Suzanne Moore, and then Shayna, and I'm sure I don't know your last name, so I'm not sure if your card is about the sewer system master plan or, the sewer system management plan, or if it's for open public comments, but.
Honorable council members and staff, Suzanne Moore from the Manor District and sitting board member of the county's Healthcare for the Homeless and Farm Workers Program and the Pacifica Resource Center. I speak for myself this evening. I'm grateful to the city support for our safe parking program, which has successfully aided unhoused Pacificans to permanent housing. We all wish Pacifica's homeless had safe, affordable housing and forever homes, but we've experienced here in Pacifica that displacement of our unhoused tragically only relocates them elsewhere without getting folks closer to the real solution, a home. I'm grateful to the PRC for mitigating some valid community concerns: access to waste disposal, free food in our pantry, free showers, and access to case management. I understand the importance we all feel to have this problem resolved. The truth is that this problem is decades in the making and is among the greatest challenges of our time. Homelessness is likely to increase in the future as funding for our safety net institutions is decreased, but there are ways we can all help. One, if an opportunity arises, make sure someone at risk or currently homeless has access to the Pacifica Resource Center and our homeless outreach team for help. Two, treat everyone with respect. If you are acutely worried about safety or health issues, call 911. And three, support resources that provide homeless services, create interim housing as a stepping stone to permanent housing, like our safe parking program, and build truly affordable housing at all levels of affordability. None of us want our neighbors to be afraid to live in substandard conditions or to have families torn apart. We can all do our parts. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Sorry? Okay, if we can ask you not to clap because it just makes our meetings go longer. So if you agree, we do a hand wave. Show your support. Thank you. So I'm not seeing any other public commenters here. Is there anyone on the phone, Emily?
We have one raised hand. It is from Clifford Lawrence.
Okay. Go ahead, Cliff. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you, and good evening, Council, Madam Vice Mayor. I want to echo and support what Suzanne Morris just said. Been reflecting on the homeless issue and affordability and all of that we've been struggling with. And it was like a light came on this week. Suddenly, I really am starting to understand that this is a bad problem that's only getting worse. We're going to be, the market's going to displace more people and it's a matter of social justice. We really need to commit ourselves to this and support all that can be done, including this project that you have before you tonight. And I thank you for that. We just have to open our hearts and show kindness and support compassion. And I thank you.
Thank you, Cliff.
There are no other raised hands.
Okay. With that, I'll close public comment and bring it back to council and entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent calendar minus items
3 and 7.
3 and 7.
Second.
Okay.
We'll start the roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa. That was a yes. Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Was a yes. And Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And with the motion to approve consent calendar minus items number 3 and item number 7 as moved by Councilmember Beer and seconded by Councilmember Wright passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you.
Mayor Bowles, before we move on to the items that are pulled, may I request a brief recess for technical issues.
Sure. How long do you think you need, or?
Probably just about 5 minutes.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Coming back at 7:38.
Recording stop.
consent calendar items that I pulled, 3 and 7, be moved to the end of the meeting.
That's great. I agree.
Okay. Do we need an official motion? Yes. Okay, I have a second.
Sure.
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
For the motion to move items number 3 and number 7 pulled from the consent calendar to the end of the meeting made by Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, seconded by Councilmember Wright. Start the vote with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinoza.
Aye.
Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And the motion to move items number 3 and 7 to the end of the meeting passes unanimously.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll be moving now to public comment for items not on the agenda. So for anyone in the room, there are yellow cards in the back if you can fill them up and bring them up. So I just want to read you some text here. So public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments on non-agendized items must address matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city, and comments on agendized items must relate to that specific item. If comments do not fall into one of these categories, the city will provide you with an initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city or on topic. If the warning is not followed, the mayor or vice mayor will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone. And throughout this warning system, I will seek the assistance of the city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item and not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. So, thank you. Okay, and with that, I have 6 public comment cards here. So we're going to start with Marjorie Ruiz Hidalgo, followed by Marcia, and then Joyce Tooney.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, if I may ask, those that are on Zoom that wish to speak on items not on the agenda for public comment should raise their hand now if they wish to be recognized.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Should we?
Madam Clerk, can we list how many we have at the current time who have raised their hands, who will be speaking on public comments for items not on the agenda?
At this time, I'm seeing 1 raised hand on the Zoom requesting to speak on items not on the agenda. Okay, and that's Clifford Lawrence.
And so we are closing public comments on this item.
So we're closing the ability of people to raise additional hands.
Correct.
At this time. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Starting with Marjorie Ruiz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, it was lovely to see you and meet with you just now. Good evening. For the record, my name is Marjorie Ruiz Hidalgo. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself to you. I am your PG&E Local Government Affairs representative for all 21 jurisdictions on the peninsula. This means that I am your day-to-day single point of contact, and this includes my availability for department heads and senior staff. Now, I started in late April, and I am still growing into the role, but my commitment here to you this evening on the record is that I will do my utmost to support you and help deliver and support the hometown of Pacifica. Now, thankfully, I do not do this on my own. I am part of a whole PG&E team based out of the San Carlos Service Center that includes gas and electric crews, emergency response, which I know we're familiar with here, service planning, vegetation management, and everyone responsible for the customer experience. I have given each of you and the city clerk and the city manager a business card. I look forward to working with you, collaborating with you, serving Pacifica. Please don't hesitate to reach out, send an email. You have my contact information. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Marcia, I don't have a last name. If you can state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Marcia. I'm from Tri Park. I don't know if this is the same agenda, but the reason why I'm talking today is just not with the RV situation. It's just what you guys are doing. The mayor is doing. The thing is, we can go over and over what myself and my neighbors have been doing to provoke the RVs from parking on our streets. You know, the stress level. We have to go to the grocery store. We have to text each other. We're going to the grocery store. Can you cover my spot? This is ridiculous. The mayor's responsibility, what I looked at, is to engage in the neighbors in the city, in all of us here. So I have not seen the mayor of Pacifica come to our street and talk to any of us. Or have they even engaged, has she even engaged with the RV people and said, what can we do for you to get you off of our neighborhoods? And we have this commercial area by the golf course where you can sit, you can put your RVs and you guys can all live safely away from the neighborhood community to keep our community safe. Because every day for the last 6 weeks, our neighbors have been, it's crazy. I mean, it's just insane what we have to go through, the stress that we have to go through with all of us that are here. That the mayor, you're not even here, you're up there, but they say you should be here talking to us or coming to Paloma Avenue and talking to the neighbors or going to talking to Rodrigo, where everyone knows is the RV guy that rents out his RVs to everybody, and talk to him and say, hey, what can we do to protect our citizens or taxpayers, to help us? You're not helping us, Mayor. You're elected, we elected you. You have to help us, right? You're right there, I see help us. What are you doing? Answer me.
We can't answer you during public comment.
But she can do it later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Next is Joyce Tooney, followed by Joaquin Jimenez.
Oops, hold on. Okay, I'm here on the RV situation on East Paloma also. First of all, we need a new ordinance before this stuff starts. We need a no camping ordinance before we start getting tents down our streets. Because the RV situation is out of hand. The whole city sucks with RVs. I don't know if you guys have a topper on how many RVs we can have in here, but it's bad when you're walking around and all you see is RVs. I used to walk this city every day for years, and it's just impossible now. But my main focus today is Paloma Avenue because it is the only street with a sidewalk, the full length of the street, the only long sidewalk in all of Northeast Sharp Park. The people all the way at Talbot, San Pablo Terrace, all the way down through Loma Vista, Carmel, Canyon, all the way to the back to the hill, all the way down to the freeway. It's one sidewalk that's solid. So all those people, when they walk their dogs, their children, or whatever themselves, they walk down that street. And if we were to allow all the RVs to move in, those doors would be opening, kids would get hurt on skateboards. We're gonna have an injury, a bad injury. And another thing that I wanna point out is we've been on that list for 4 years and nobody's known about it because even the RV people didn't wanna stay there. We've only had 5 RVs in there in the last 5 weeks when they closed Esplanade, and 2 of them left right away, and then we had the 3 gypsy band nightmare people, and they finally left, but they'll be back soon, I'm sure. But it's been 4 years since that map's been out, and nobody's wanted to stay there. So how would you miss us being on the map? Please take us off the map. Please, I am begging you for my health, for my neighbor's health, for our sanity. just take us off the map. You guys are the ones that can do it. You have the power to do it. Please do it. We're not even digging into RV spots. Nobody's ever used them until the last 5 weeks, and it's only was 5 total and 3 that stayed there. That cannot possibly put a dent in your RV parking spaces. And remember the schools, the kids, the parks, beach, and recreation with all the swimming. Right now it's downtime because it's summertime. But when those soccer and swim and all start, we're screwed with the parking.
Thank you, Joyce. Your time is up. I appreciate it. No clapping, please, or we'll have to ask you to leave. Okay. Joaquin Jimenez?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, City of Pacifica. My name is Joaquin Jimenez. I am the former mayor for the city of Half Moon Bay, and I'm here to thank you. A year later, a year ago, you gave us a lot of support. My family and I received all your love from council members, City of Pacifica. My son passing last year, May 2024. And I want to give you, I'm here personally, never came by to thank you for your support, for your cards that we received. It made a big change, the support, the love that we received. And I want to give you a little update, how our family is doing. We are doing much better. My son's girlfriend was pregnant, so I'm a grandparent. Beautiful boy. His name is also Joaquin Benicio. He's doing great. Healthy boy, big boy. My daughter Myla, who was on her fourth year in college, graduated from Chico State. With a bilingual education degree, with a minor in Chicano studies and Spanish. And she's looking forward to being a teacher, to coming back to the coast. She was admitted to the credential program up in Chico, so she has 1 more year to complete her credential and then coming back to the community to be a teacher. I am now working for a nonprofit organization here in the coast, Montero to Pescadero. I work for Job Train. I'm the regional director for Job Train. We work with the community with vocational trainings and opportunities of helping them, look for work and doing resumes. So it's been difficult. It was a difficult year, So I was not able to come by, and thank you all. Like I say, council members and City of Pacifica for all the love and support that you showed us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joaquin, for the update. I have Suzanne Moore, and I'm going to call Shayna. I'm not sure if you wanted to speak. And then Anita Reese is my last card.
Suzanne Moore. As a community, we are facing challenges that deserve our attention. It's sometimes difficult to see a proper course, but it helps to define important goals. For our immigrant community, I hear they and their families face fear and disruption. Without debate of politics, we can all agree to the importance of safety and a dependence on a reliable source of information. I'm hoping that Pacifica, as a sanctuary city, will promote posting a Faith in Action poster that shows the county emergency response line. It would be helpful if the city sends a message that encourages a prominent display of the poster as a community service. The response line can both reliably confirm an ICE action and dispense accurate information to anyone concerned. Encourage our city offices, merchants, churches, schools to prominently display this poster as a public service. I'm aware that some merchants have been pressured to remove the posters. If a merchant is concerned, we advocates could ask that maybe they could post it in the employee break room so the employees at least have access. City messaging of support may be really helpful to assure these posters remain. Faith in Action also provides post-sized cards with their hotline and basic information in English and Spanish. A smaller wallet-sized card lists constitutional rights, again in English and Spanish. And it's intended as a tool to be handed to an ICE agent and indicate that an individual intends to exercise those rights. The Sharp Park Library has volunteered to disperse supplies during business hours. And they will soon have yellow cards and additional posters to add to their current supply of red cards. Please let me know if there are city personnel who are able to provide this service. And thank you. Oh, and P.S., I really support the Mildred B. Owen Concert Hall and the Sanchez Art Center.
Thank you, Suzanne. So I'm going to call one more time Shayna. I'm not sure. The note says requested to read, but I can't read that. So if you want to speak, you want me to come up?
Hi, my name is Shayna. I wanted to talk about the RV parking on Paloma. I know that immediately it is unlikely that you're going to restrict or limit RV parking there. It just seems very unlikely. But there is real concern where they are parking. They are parking just shortly past or before entrances to the school. So when you're driving past, because of the size of the RVs, you cannot see if individuals are walking or coming out of that parking lot or students are walking. So it is a genuine safety concern. I also don't believe that if an RV is parked for days on an end without moving, that they are responsibly disposing of their sewage. If the RV is not moving, where is the sewage going? How are they transporting their sewage? Where are they putting it? Is there not a way that we can confirm that they are disposing their sewage, which by that I mean, can we require them to show receipts of proper sewage disposal? Because again, if an RV is not moving for days on end, how are they disposing of their sewage? Where are they dumping it? And I think that's a question we all need to ask ourselves, because if you are not moving your vehicle anywhere and taking it to be dumped, where is the sewage going? And I think those are really important questions to ask, and those are things we can address if we cannot address parking of an RV in a location succinctly, because I don't think that's a situation you can resolve overnight.
Thank you. Okay, and then Anita Reese, and I have a second card from Marcia, but it's exactly the same handwriting, and you're only allowed to speak once on these items. So go ahead, Anita.
Hello, Anita Reese with the Pacifica Resource Center. I want to first start off by thanking you for continuing to partner with PRC to help our unhoused neighbors return to housing with your investment in the temporary safe parking program. I also just wanted to share that we continue to be open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 9 to 5, Wednesdays, 9 to 7, Fridays, 9 to 1, and one Saturday a month from 9 to 1. We are closed for lunch, 12:30 to 1:30, Monday through Thursday, and our next Saturday office hours are on July 12th. Our Unhoused on the Coast outreach team will respond to outreach requests within 3 hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and holidays also 9 to 5. If you see someone living outside or in a vehicle, please email ucoutreach@pacresourcecenter.org or call our outreach line at 650-452-6279. When we respond, we do offer services and check to see if there's anything that we can do. We also do share with folks like how to be and continue to be a good neighbor because we know that that can be really challenging for folks in the community. And then I just wanted to share too that due to budget issues and challenges having enough groceries in our pantry, we've reduced the number of pantry visits from 3 times a week to 3 times a month to twice a month. Plus our off-site grocery distribution on the 4th Wednesday of every month. So our next distribution is this Wednesday, June 25th at the American Legion Hall, which is at 555 Buell. If you need groceries and haven't enrolled, we ask folks to come to the American Legion Hall at 4:30 and we'll be able to serve you and connect you with other resources. We're also currently enrolling for back to school. We'll provide backpacks and Target gift cards for up to 200 students, and we'll be posting a wish list if you'd like to contribute an item. And of course, we're always happy to take cash donations to purchase those items on our behalf, or on your behalf. I also wanted to share that our annual Palmapalooza fundraiser is on September 13th at the Farallon Room at Skyline. Invitations went out last week, and our theme this year is Mardi Gras, so hopefully we'll see you there and with some beads. Please contact PRC for more information about anything that I've shared or any other support that you might need by phone at 650-738-7470, by email at info@pacresourcecenter.org, or on our website, pacresourcecenter.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita. So that's all the cards I have. If anyone else wishes to speak, again, there's yellow cards in the back. And Emily, I believe we had one public commenter.
And Vice Mayor Bowles, I just wanted to state for the record again that prior to public comments in person, we had invited those online to raise hands, and there's only one speaker, Cliff Lawrence.
Okay, thank you very much, City Manager. Cliff, you may unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. It's come to my attention, our so-called legislators, well, they are legislators in Sacramento. They've done some crazy things there in the past, but SB 79 is a real concern. I hope that we are not subject, any of our bus stops qualifying for the provisions of this bill. But even if we aren't subject to it, we need to support the rest of our Californians in sending a clear message before Wednesday that this is really bad legislation. And it's another in a series from Wiener, excuse me. Aside from that, also take the occasion to ask for your support again for the Sanchez Art Center and Performance Center here. I noticed again the signs on the highway pointing to it and marking the directions to it, and took some time over the weekend to note the very unique and personalized artwork that has been done there on the building, as well as enjoyed the exhibit there. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Cliff. With that, I will close public comment and bring it back to council for council communications. Who'd like to go first?
I'll go ahead and go first. I feel like I don't have a whole lot.
Okay, thank you.
I did want to, so I'm going to backtrack to our Pride celebration, and because our Chief of Police is here today, I just really wanted to publicly state how helpful and wonderful it was to have your staff at Pride, and working with Sergeant Kunanen. Did I say her name right? It was Susie. She was amazing for all of our safety meetings, and I witnessed her, like, overseeing her staff, participating in the parade, setting up the booth, running the booth, talking to kids, passing out all kinds of things. And not only that, but then they stayed after and helped us clean up. And it was just a pleasure. So thank you. And I didn't get to say that last time, so. And then I just want to talk about Blues and Brews a little bit. We had Blues and Brews over the weekend. It was a lovely event. It was really nice to have an event at a Civic Center. I think the setup was really cool because there was place for the band and there was places for booths. It's like made for those kind of events. I got to work with Hope at the registration table, so I got to talk to so many people who showed up, and it was really fun. And I know that there was a lot of proceeds that are going to be going to Hope, and Hope is healing overdose prevention education, is a super important cause in our community. So, but like every other event, right? It's always good to learn like what worked and what didn't work. So I'm looking forward to seeing maybe an event valuation, because we all need evaluations for our events. That's how we learn how to make them better for the next year. So I look forward to seeing something like that and talking about it at our next EDC meeting. I also want to thank the REACH Coalition for inviting me, and Vice Mayor Bowles also participated in a countywide webinar about immigration. And so there was a lot of ways that we can all participate individually that really will make a huge difference for how we respond to this in our community. So I look forward to getting some training around that and helping out as much as I possibly can. And with that, I will hand it off.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Greg, would you like to go?
I'm happy to go next. I'm not going to comment on each of the 17 different committees that I serve on, but one in particular comes to mind. I went to the Association of Bay Area Governments meeting. It's an organization that consists of representatives from the 9 Bay Area counties and all 101 cities. And it was really nice to be there, to be able to just discuss challenges that we all face and all have in common in light of the, shall we say, more global picture down to the more local issues. The keynote speaker was an economist with a PhD in economics, and actually painted not quite as dire a picture as I was expecting, but was very clear in what his prescription was for the solution to our economic challenges, and that's housing, 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 and more housing, which is an issue that we certainly have here. And it was really nice to have that opportunity. I also got an opportunity to attend a few meetings I don't always attend, but it was nice to have that opportunity as well. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh, of course.
To all the folks who came out from Paloma, I'm happy to come out and talk to you again. So if you want to arrange another meeting at Connie's or wherever, please do let me know. I'm happy to come out and talk to you again.
The mayor's out of town right now, and I'm sorry, we're not allowed to respond, and I don't appreciate disruptions. You might have to be removed from the room. So, Myra, would you?
I wanted to talk about the economic development in this group that makes possible the Blues and Brews. What I did during that event was to visit different businesses, and everybody was happy. So I feel that we should do more of those things, and businesses felt appreciated, and I could see that. And not only that, there's so many different like boutique types of businesses here. It is amazing, and people should know that they're there. So I do wanted to encourage the city to support more of those type of events, so people get to discover those little, not little businesses, but they're giants because they're different, and they do bring a lot of different tastes to different people. So I really enjoy that this weekend.
It would be nice to figure out how to like include other businesses from other parts of town, wouldn't it?
A lot to learn, like you say. Mm-hmm. Mayor Beckmeyer, would you like to speak?
Yes, I don't have a lot to report, obviously, since I'm not in town right now. But I did want to speak again on the issue of Paloma. As I stated at the last council meeting, we're hearing you. We understand the issues. These are not new issues in the city. They're new issues in your neighborhood, and we're working on it. I have been taking steps. I have been speaking individually with a number of different neighbors. Not all of them. We're working on the issue. So I know that doesn't satisfy you, but I want you to understand we hear you. I've said it before, and it is my steadfast commitment that we are working on this issue. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Sue. I'm going to set a timer for myself. You guys are all fast. First, I want to thank Councilmember Wright for sitting in on a couple of my meetings that I was supposed to go to last week. I had my brother's funeral and my daughter's graduation, so a lot of emotion in the last week, and was feeling overwhelmed. And Greg kindly sat into the Colma Creek Advisory Committee and the Emergency Services Council, and I really appreciate that. We're a team up here, and we help each other, and we need to, right? I had a wonderful long chat with Aaron Gravely of the Coastal Conservancy because they're managing a lot of the climate funds for coastal projects to try to understand a little bit more about what they're looking for. And some of the questions I talked about were equity, and because they're really prioritizing that, but we don't really have equity communities within Pacifica, but we have people that come and visit, right, from underserved communities. And one thing that was interesting, she said it wasn't helpful to them to have an overall study of who comes to our beaches and so forth, but if we're doing a project in one place, like by the pier, then they would want to see that information. So they have less money for planning and more money for actual projects. They want to see things actually getting built. So talking with staff about some of the things on our priority list. And one of the other interesting things they said is that they will not fund mitigation projects, so for armoring or our SSRAs. That was kind of some surprising news. And then there was a separate meeting with other grantors, and the Ocean Protection Council, though, has a lot of money for planning and like our shoreline adaptation processes. So hopefully we'll be applying for those grants soon. I went to a really fun event with City Manager Woodhouse, the Fruits of Good Governance in Santa Clara County. So there was a presentation and then a panel with 2 council members and 2 city managers, and hoping that we can bring that to San Mateo County in the future. It was really well done. The REACH meeting was really good, and there are some wonderful resources. I know there's a lot of fear in the community, and want you to know between the ACLU and Faith in Action, please reach out. There are resources. You should not have to live in fear. There have been so far no ICE confirmed reports in our county here, and a lot of people are keeping a close eye and making sure that there are a lot of false reports. So that's the last thing we want, is to be spreading more fear. So verify your facts. And then, my time is up. I just want to say the Sanchez Art Center, I met with Cindy Abbott and Billy Philadelphia this weekend, but I also got to go through one of the exhibits, Living Through History, which is incredible. Anyway, yeah, things on climate, things on history and Nazis, and just really moving and really prescient for the time that we're in right now. That is a scary time. So with that, I'll send it to the city manager.
If I may, Vice Mayor?
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up on something that you said about the Coastal Conservancy conversations you were having. I understand about mitigation, but it seems like nature-based solutions are within the scope of what Conservancy is doing. And that was my takeaway from the webinar that you and I attended before I left. So I just want to make sure that we're exploring all of the options with them. And I know City Manager Woodhouse was going to be reaching out to set up a meeting for all of us to meet with them.
Yes. And absolutely, you're right. Those are the kind, I mean, they love to fund those kinds of projects and also coastal access, but they specifically followed up in an email later that they wouldn't fund mitigations, right, that were for other projects. So if we're funding those projects specifically, absolutely. But anyway, we'll follow up when you get back with more information to you. So, okay, City Manager Woodhouse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Bowles and council members. Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. Several communications tonight. I did want to say that the city has posted at our 2 Civic Center buildings the the county emergency number poster that Faith in Action had provided that provides that information resources to the community. So those are at both of the Civic Center buildings. In addition, we do have much information on our Sanctuary City website page, and we will be providing other resources that are also being provided, such as the different reference cards. I also wanted to echo Vice Mayor Bowles' comments about the Santa Clara County Cities Association event that we went to the Thursday before last. It was held down at the Sunnyvale City Hall, and as Vice Mayor said, it was related to good governance and partnership, council manager relations. And aside from that, the other fruit of the event was, this was a gathering of all of the Santa Clara County elected officials and various city managers. And from San Mateo County, it was Vice Mayor Bowles and myself and the city manager from Redwood City and her vice mayor that were representing San Mateo County. So it was a great networking opportunity to represent Pacifica in that context, and it would be a great training to bring to the San Mateo County group as well. I also wanted to echo some of the comments that were provided regarding the Blues and Brews event. I was able to go down there, my wife and I, and we actually really enjoyed it. We walked to all of the merchants, and I talked to all of them and just got incredible feedback. It was a beautiful day, that helps, but I think in Pacific it doesn't matter if it's beautiful or foggy. People are still out having fun. But it was a crowd, and there were lots of visitation to the businesses, so they were very excited about that. We bought numerous things, a book, a sweater. I like to spend my money here in Pacifica, and I encourage everybody to do that. But it was a great event, and I know the committee and the organizers of it from the Economic Development Committee will be following up and gathering feedback to make it even stronger in future years. And I'd also like to thank Economic Development staff, Tara Schiff and Alyssa Bronte, for all the work they put in supporting the committee, and the committee members also, and all the work they did to pull that event off. And that completes my communications.
Thank you. All right, well, I think we'll go to our public hearings. Item 8, the AB 2561 compliance, vacancy rate and workforce planning public hearing. So if we could get a staff report, please.
The staff will take 1 minute to come up and commence the presentation. And Mr. Harris, you can come on over to the staff table. Thank you.
Hello, council and public. This meeting, or my presentation, is to comply with Assembly Bill 2561, which is compliance addressing vacancy rates and workforce initiatives. Okay, so Assembly Bill 2561 requires public agencies to annually present vacancy rates before budget adoption, which is taking place in this meeting. Agencies must identify barriers to recruitments and retention and present strategies to address them. Recognized employee organizations have been notified and are given the opportunity to participate in public comment. And vacancy data related to workforce planning efforts must be made publicly available. Some of the barriers we're dealing with in filling our positions, we have a highly competitive Bay Area job market. Private sector, oftentimes is poaching positions, and neighboring public agencies offer higher salaries. There are cost of living constraints in attracting talent from other regions, and there is a perceived limited career mobility, and some positions are viewed as having few promotional opportunities, leading candidates to seeking roles with faster advancement potential. Another unique item that's a barrier that's really present right now is the fact that there's a retirement wave, and this is nationwide, and it's a talent drain, and we're losing quite a bit of institutional knowledge, requiring succession planning and strategic thought in moving forward. So what you see here is tables of our vacancy rates. It's a snapshot from February, our first pay period in February, and I've broken it out by department and bargaining unit. I will highlight that we aren't, if you're looking at the city holistically as a whole, we are at 12% vacancy rate within this snapshot. That isn't considered extreme by any measure, but there's still quite a bit of work to be done, and it would be great if we could get that below 10% in the future next year when I'm presenting this presentation again. So the following recruitment and retention strategies directly support the City of Pacifica's strategic goal to attract and retain a talented workforce by building a strong pipeline of candidates, enhancing the employee experience and career growth opportunities, and maintaining competitive compensation and benefits to support workforce stability. Some of the items that I know we're looking into in the next fiscal year is improving wellness for our employees, building out a strategic wellness initiative, as well as building up some pipelines. Okay. We just rolled out the city's annual internship program, which always gets great feedback. We give quite a bit of opportunities. I know in my department, or division alone, we have 2 interns helping out with HR, and they're great to have on the team, and it's great to give opportunities to college grads in kind of an uncertain time. We need to refresh the City of Pacifica's career page with a strong why work here statement, advertising why it would be great to work at the City of Pacifica, and exploring grant funding opportunities to better support diversity-focused outreach. What I mean by that is not just posting and praying, which is a term we use in HR, but to use more an active outreach and reaching out to community members that may not have access to web-based tools, and going out and meeting the community where they are and advertising opportunities at the city to retain and really bring in people within the community into our workforce so we can grow Pacifica. So this one's a bit wordy, but one thing that we rolled out this year that was quite new was an employee engagement survey to really get a pulse of where our organization is. And we want to work and continue using this employee engagement survey on an annual basis. We're building a committee within our city to discuss how to best move forward and to continue this and get employee engagement and really move the City of Pacifica forward, both with our partners and our employee organizations, as well as our managers, and really make it a team approach, a City of Pacifica approach. One thing that was identified, we had a classification study. This really, it started last year, and it wrapped up in January. There were identified structural barriers that were limiting staff's potential advancement into job series. I wanted to highlight some examples that were identified and have already been adopted and corrected. Our child care series, which used to be 1 to 3, was consolidated into just one classification, which was a child care teacher position, as well as having a child care teacher lead position. We had quite a few administrative role classifications at the city. We took this classification study results and consolidated them into an administrative assistant series. which both allows for more career advancement in some of our administrative roles and has a clear defined path. And it also makes it simpler to advertise and fill these roles. Instead of having various 3 to 4 classifications, we have one series now. So it's simpler to go out and advertise and really get the best talent available for the city of Pacifica. One other result is we restructured certain job classifications that were not series to allow for us to go out and recruit as a series. And some classifications I'd just like to highlight for those are assistant to associate civil engineer and our assistant to associate planner. And one other item to highlight is our wastewater roles are combined into plant and collections operator series, whereas previously we had just an operator series. That might sound pretty wordy, but very different functions, whereas we needed to separate that to better be able to recruit for talent that is going to be fulfilling a specific duty. And of course, we're going to continue utilizing compensation studies to see where we are in the market. The City of Pacifica remains committed to addressing vacancy challenge transparently and proactively, and we will continue enhancing our recruitment and retention strategies to align with the city's strategic goal to attract and retain a talented workforce. I highlighted wellness. I know that is a big priority for us this year. It's something I hold close and dear to my heart, being in human resources. And if you have a good wellness program, it's a good tool to attract talent and sell the City of Pacifica. Vacancy data and workforce planning efforts will continue to be monitored, reported, and refined annually in compliance with AB 2561, and we look forward to working with city leadership, departments, employee organizations, which will involve regular meetings with bargaining units to build a strong and sustainable workforce. I guess I should.
Thank you so much, Zach. Have any questions for staff? Oh, go ahead, Sue.
Thank you very much for that report. Would you put the slide back up that showed the vacancy rates in the different departments?
Packet page 226.
Okay, let me pin that so I can see it better. Oops, it just went away. Now I'm pinned.
Sorry, we'll try to get it back up.
Are you seeing that on the screen still?
Not yet, so just give us a second here. There you go. Can you say that now, Sue? Can you see that now, Mayor Beckmeyer?
There it is. Thank you. I didn't get a chance to see this before the meeting, so I just wanted to look at it really quickly. And also I have a question about the employee survey, I forgot how you referred to it. In recruitment, retention survey or something. Was there any part of that that included questions about training or educational opportunities as a potential employee benefit? I saw a presentation on that at a League of Cities meeting a couple of years ago, and I wanted to follow up on that.
So the employee engagement survey does ask about our overall benefits package, but it doesn't dive into that level of detail.
Okay, so it's a possibility maybe for a future edition of that survey. We can talk about that later.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question about the survey. I've been thinking about, like, why don't we do a survey that it is anonymous? That way, employees can open and say whatever they want without feeling that people, well, his employer, the city manager, is going to fire them. So I would like to see something done like that, a survey.
I want to just interrupt you. We shouldn't be deliberating until the
Oh,
other side of
no, but
public
just
comment.
having-
So it's just if you have any clarifying questions, and then we'll open public
okay.
comment. Anybody else?
I have a clarifying question. When you were choosing the number of vacancies, is that compared to historical data, compared to current staffing levels, or compared to what an average city our size has for numbers in those particular positions?
So it's based on our total FTE count. So I'm looking at what we're currently advertising. I'm sorry. It's based on our current FTE count. So the budgeted, I compared to what our budgeted positions are and how many positions are currently filled. So there isn't a consideration what other cities are doing, because it's just based on the reality of our organization at one point in time.
Right. So, for example, if we've been balancing the budget by not replacing employees, that would not be reflected in our vacancy rate. Is that safe to say?
That is correct.
And Kevin, just to address this to you, because he may not have the historical knowledge, it looks to me like this is an underrepresentation. Something that would be helpful to me sitting on council when we're doing these kind of analyses, that we have the opportunity to compare it to, let's just, because it's easy, use police officers, for example. Like if there's a city of X number of thousand and we're X number of thousand, that we should have a similar number of police officers so that we can understand what reality is, not where we've ended up. So in other words, if our people are already overworked and underpaid, that we at least understand what it is that we're asking them to do. That would be helpful to me.
And Councilmember Wright, I can address that. I do want to be clear about what this vacancy number is. So I understand your question, which is a little bit different than what this is. This is actually the positions that the city has budgeted that are vacant. Some of these positions may not be vacant right now because this is a snapshot in time, maybe a couple months ago or whenever, I don't remember the date. They may have been hired now, but that's the vacancy. So this is not a comparison about what our staffing levels should be. This is number of positions budgeted, and is there a person that is in that position working or not? That's the vacancy rate.
And the point that I was trying to get to is even if we filled every single one of these, we'd still be understaffed. And that was the point I was trying to get to,
right, which
through my questions.
Sure. And maybe the next item when we talk about our proposed budget, we can talk a little bit more about that.
I'm bound in this drum.
And if I could very quickly, because there's been a couple questions about the employee engagement survey, so I just wanted to summarize for that. Number one, it was anonymous, just to answer that question. And number two, we are processing those results, and we'll be communicating out very, very robustly and implementing measures with the organization. And of course, I'll keep the council updated when we're ready to push those results out. And there's some lessons we learned, and there's some positive points, and we're, kind of putting all the data together to be able to communicate it very clearly. So that's about the survey.
Great. Thank you, City Manager. Okay, if there are no other questions right now, we can open it up.
And Vice Mayor Bowles, if I could ask you to first ask anyone that's online to raise their hands if they're going to speak, so that we can determine that. And in the meantime, if you could read again the directions.
Okay. Yes, so if anyone would online would like to speak, please raise your hand now while I'm reading this statement. Public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments and here I'm going to change it to item 8, right? We are only taking public comments right now on item 8, which is the AB 2561 compliance for the vacancy rate and workforce planning public hearing. If comments do not fall into this category, the city will provide you with additional warning to stay within this topic. If the warning is not followed, the mayor or vice mayor will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone. And throughout this warning system, I will seek the assistance of the city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item or not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. City clerk, how many hands do we have raised? We have no hands raised, okay. And I see no members out. I see Sue Degree. You can fill out a yellow card afterwards. I'd appreciate it.
Hi, thanks. It all seemed good. When you hear the word focus on, that does make me alert, like where did that impetus for the word focus come from? So you mentioned focused on diversity. I'm definitely in favor of diversity, but I've always been impressed by Martin Luther King's statement where he said that we will be judged by not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And that was a person in the midst of being discriminated against, mainly because of his color. I just think in the diversity, we really need to have every color and every age, and how on earth do you do that in a marketing thing? I don't know, but I think we need to be careful when we say we're going to focus on diversity, that we keep in mind Martin Luther King's color doesn't make you better or worse. You know, there's other things that have to be done, but color does make, it has to be there. There has to be a message, of course, but it really needs to be broad. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And with that, I will close public comment and bring it back to council for any.
It's informational only.
It's some informational only, but if you have any other questions or comments.
I just have a comment, but I think, did you want to go first? Because.
No.
Okay. Zach, for one, thank you for your presentation. You're really easy to listen to, and I appreciate your presentation style. So thank you for being with us. I don't have any questions or comments except for that. So thank you so much.
And I just want to go over one thing that you were talking about. I'm thinking like, okay, it's hard to retain employees. Maybe we should have this link where we have vacancy, so that is available on boards, so people will have this little QR code where they said city's hiring all over the city. And maybe that will help, because if you don't have to commute to Santa Cruz, I think you probably will take a lower pay. You'll be happy to work in Pacifica. I will be happy. So that, I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mara. Anything else, Greg or Sue? No, thank you for your presentation, Zach. I had one idea. I think like younger generations seem to be more on videos and so forth than, you know, the written word of job descriptions. And I don't know, one crazy idea, and actually inspired by Myra, because she is such a good video content person. Like if it's helpful for city council or other staff to do a quick little video, and maybe even in other languages, saying what a great place this is to live and work and play, you know, if that would be helpful. Yeah, wherever.
That seems like a great idea to me.
Yeah. Vice Mayor Bowles, thank you for commenting on that, because we actually did have this conversation not too long ago about launching that kind of social media advertisement, and it could be exciting and give, you know, employees from all different levels in the organization an opportunity to, you know, show their stuff.
Yeah, that'd be so fun to hear them speak. Great. Well, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
No vote needed, so we will move on to item 9. And so this is the adoption of the fiscal year 2025-26 operating and capital budget. The proposed action is to hold a public hearing, review, and move to adopt the following resolutions. Adopt the resolution approving the 25-26 operating and capital budget. adopt the resolution establishing the GAN appropriation limit for 25-26, adopt the resolution approving citywide fee schedule, which was not quite an Exhibit A, but will be presented tonight, and then the annual review of the investment policy. And with that, I'll turn it over to City Manager Woodhouse.
Yes. Thank you, Vice Mayor and council members. Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. So I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm going to provide some introductory comments, but unlike what I normally do, I'm going to actually read the first few paragraphs of the budget transmittal letter that I recently wrote, in part because I don't think I can state it better than reading every word that I wrote, and this is a very serious and important message for Pacifica at this point in Pacifica's history. So if you'll bear with me for a few minutes, I do want to just read this for the benefit of the council members and for the public who may have not already ingested the transmittal memo. So the title of this year's memo is Facing Pacifica's Financial and Operational Realities. This proposed budget sustains existing services for the community for fiscal year 25-26, while also supporting critical work in the coming year to help Pacifica make progress on a path toward financial sustainability in the future. That path must entail reasonable new development of housing and mixed-use centers to realize property and sales tax revenue increases, hotel capacity to realize transient occupancy tax revenue increases, combined with other revenue generation strategies if Pacifica is to ever achieve and operationally sustain the level of service delivery desired by the community. Such a path also entails fulfilling the City Council's housing, climate resilience, and infrastructure goals articulated in the 2023-2030 strategic plan. Over recent decades, the city has decreased and contained its expenditures to the maximum extent feasible while still maintaining reasonable service levels. However, low staffing and compensation levels are an increasing threat to organizational sustainability. Revenue improvements in recent years, such as the successful voter-approved Measure Y half-cent transactions and use tax, otherwise known as a sales tax, in 2022, have helped maintain existing levels of service. And Measure M's 3% increase in 2024 to the transient occupancy tax, hotel tax, will help in the future if more hotel capacity is added to make up for the anticipated lost revenue from changes to the short-term rental program. However, without continuing significant increases in revenue generation, sustaining the organization and service delivery is at risk. What do I mean by significant revenue increases? A quick look at some basic numbers will explain. First, Pacifica's current reality is that to achieve average staffing and compensation levels of peer agencies in the region, Pacifica would need to generate roughly $8 million more in annual operating revenue, a 15% increase compared to current revenues. In addition, Pacifica needs more than $200 million in one-time capital project funding to address infrastructure deficiencies in streets, sidewalks, storm drainage, coastal infrastructure, the pier, and other facility improvements. So how does a mostly bedroom community with mostly resident and visitor serving small retail establishments and a small amount of hotel capacity generate $8 million more in annual operating revenues? This question will be thoroughly explored and presented to the City Council and the community in a study session about revenue generation in late summer. The short answer is that new development and redevelopment of housing and mixed use, commercial plus housing, will result in increased total assessed property valuation and therefore increased property tax revenue. For example, development of 100 new housing units on average could result in a net revenue increase of more than $200,000 per year. This means if Pacifica's regional housing needs allocation of approximately 1,900 housing units were achieved in coming years, annual revenue could increase by $3.8 million. And a 100-room average-priced hotel could generate approximately $1 million in annual transient occupancy tax revenue. Meanwhile, increasing the number of retail businesses and supporting them is also critical, which also more housing and visitors helps achieve. However, sales and business license tax generation from retail businesses might range from $4,000 to $25,000 per year for an individual business. Therefore, at the generous midpoint of $15,000 per year, and that's not the average, that's a generous midpoint, 67 new businesses would need to open in Pacifica to generate an additional $1 million per year in sales tax revenue. That is an unlikely goal for sales tax for a community like Pacifica. New and redevelopment also increases one-time capital funding revenue through development impact fees. However, achieving hundreds of millions more in capital funding will require a combination of voter-approved revenue measures, such as a general obligation bond measure, combined with large, successful infrastructure grant funding from the state and federal government. I'm emphasizing this snapshot of revenue generation examples to communicate the financial and operational realities in Pacifica that must be addressed in order to achieve the City Council's long-term vision for the community as articulated in the 2023-2030 strategic plan. And I'm just going to jump to the conclusion and longer-term challenges in the budget transmittal memo. So I am pleased to present a proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26 that is balanced, transparent, accountable, prudent, and maintains critical programs and services for the Pacifica community. However, it is a year of cautious optimism, as continuing to balance budgets in future years without impactful service reductions is going to depend on the degree to which all revenue sources increase, especially property tax revenues, due to new and redevelopment. We can be optimistic because several foundational policy and land use plans have recently been approved, such as the Comprehensive General Plan update, the Local Coastal Land Use Plan update, and soon the housing element, followed by the Sharp Park Specific Plan. These critical plans bring policy and process clarity for development interests and help ensure development occurs consistent with the community vision established in these plans. These are essential long-term revenue enhancement paths. Concurrently, it is essential to focus on short-term revenue enhancement strategies, such as assessing development and user fees, economic development opportunities to support retail businesses, and consideration of additional voter-approved revenue measures for infrastructure needs. So in conclusion, I and city staff look forward to continued work with the council and the community to face Pacifica's financial and operational realities and ensure Pacifica continues to be a desirable community in which to live, work, and play. Thank you for indulging me to just read that, because in my 8 years here thus far, this is probably just the most serious and critical point in Pacifica's history, and this message is critical to that. So I just felt the need to take the time to read that. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Carter and Ms. Gomez to present the recommended budget.
Thank you.
Thank you for this introduction, City Manager Woodhouse. So throughout the presentation, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the budget overview, and there are several resolutions in front of you presented for adoption. So obviously the resolution to adopt the operating and capital budget, establish again appropriation limit, again it's a state requirement, and approve the Citywide fee schedule, there are no substantial changes other than just regular CPI increase. And the fee schedule itself included in the budget book, pages 340, 376, or packet pages 581, 617. And another requirement, again, to approve the investment policy, we have to review investment policy every year, but again, there is no substantial changes in this upcoming year's budget. And the policy is also included in the budget book, pages 290, 301, and that would be on packet pages 531, 542. So today we'll talk about budget timeline. We'll update the council on what changes were made after the council study session on June 9th, the highlights and overview of the budget, and move to recommendation to adopt. So you've seen this chart before. Our budget development process includes 8 public meetings. They're all listed here. Tonight's meeting concludes the budget development process with the formal adoption of the 25-26 operating and capital budget. But again, it was a long journey to get to this point, so we're really excited about that. And as city manager said, the budget before you is a balanced budget, but obviously presents some challenges long term. So now this slide shows the changes that we've made after the last budget study session on June 9th. We changed the funding allocation for the Pacifica Libraries Outreach Project to be funded from the library fund instead of the general fund. Again, the council discussed it at the last meeting. We funded FogFest contribution, city contribution to FogFest of $25,000, the same level as last year. This amount is coming from the general fund. We also funded one shoreline contribution just for 1 year of $40,000 from general fund. And again, this will be reassessed before the next year's decision to continue contribution. And finally, we reviewed the Housing Action Fund for current encumbrances and implementation timelines for the current year's budget allocation of the Housing Element Program implementation. And that review resulted in a reduction of about $300,000 that was returned back to the Housing Action Fund. Again, just want to clarify that fiscal year 25-26 base budget initially carried over the current year's appropriation from the 24-25 to support housing element implementation. And this was done intentionally, given expected continuation of some activities due to project time and departmental transition that Community Development Department went through last year. But again, once council discussed some of the concerns of the fund expenditure, long-term sustainability, we did some further analysis and review and worked with Community Development Director closely to identify some of the items that will be completed at the end of this fiscal year and do not need to be carried over in the fiscal year 25-26. So that resulted in approximately $300,000 appropriation that was reduced for the upcoming year's budget. Again, we were talking about base budget changes. And with that, I just want to turn it to Ms. Gomez to go over budget highlights and budget overview.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carter. So I'll be going over the 25-26 recommended budget highlights. I also wanted to add before going through this slide that in the budget book, the budget overview section of the budget book is also a summary that presents highlights of the budget. It goes over budget methodology and assumptions as presented in the previous budget study sessions. It's also a good read on top of City Manager's transmittal letter as a good review of the budget as a whole. So the 25-26 recommended budget is balanced. We particularly use the word balance because it is balanced, but it's not something that we refer to as structurally balanced based on what we had discussed before with pulling one-time costs out of the current budget and also reallocating other revenue sources to make this year's budget. So when you're comparing operating revenues to operating expenditures for this fiscal year 25-26, it is presented as a balanced budget. General fund revenues are showing at 53 million and one, and that is 10% above the fiscal year 24-25 revised budget. Again, in the budget overview section, it explains some of those revenue increases and assumptions that we showed to get to that number. And the general fund expenditures are also 53.1 million, 11% above the fiscal year 24-25 revised budget. Remaining funds for the general fund is going to be right at 42,000. This is one-time in nature and is not ongoing. We created this small balance after reallocating excess ERAF, which was 3.7 million, to the general fund, with a one-time debt service payment relief of 600,000, and also backing out the one-time projected contribution to the pension trust fund of the 217,000 amount. The general fund undesignated fund balance is 10.1 million, or 19.1% of operating expenditures. And the fiscal year 25-26 CIP budget is 22.7 million. The attachment for this CIP program is also connected here. Let me see what attachment number that is. Sorry, that is attachment number 6. That is the CIP draft that you've been seeing since it was presented in the budget study sessions. And that is comprised of 34 capital projects, including 15 new projects at the cost of 6.7 million. So of the 22.7 million, the majority is ongoing projects. Moving to the next slide, just an overview again of that fund balance presenting at 42,109. Again, this is a small amount here that can be used later in the year or readdressed at mid-year. And that is comprised of looking at the operating expenditures and also the backing out the 50,000 in capital. The general fund revenues again are 53.1 million, 10.25 above the fiscal year 24-25 revised budget. The majority of this comes from 76% of the general fund revenues come from the tax breakdown that you see before you. No major changes to these except for, as we discussed before, some reductions that we accounted for in cannabis tax and the TOT, which has the STR portion. This is another view of the general fund revenues. In comparison with the previous fiscal years, you can see some of the increases here that we've discussed in previous budget study sessions, as well as a reminder, the cannabis tax is one that will remain flat due to the current trends that we discussed throughout the previous budget study sessions. Again, all of these revenues and expenditures we look at when we bring the mid-year review to council every year. We take a look at the economic trends at that time and what we're actually receiving. Moving on to the general fund expenditures, again, that sits at 53.19 million, 11% above the fiscal year 24-25 revised. Largely, that increase is due to the transfer out to debt service. Last year, the debt service fund paid 100% of the payments for the fiscal year. This year, it's a shared cost with 1.4 coming out of the general fund, and again, that 600,000 that the debt service fund is covering this year. This is another view of the general fund expenditures, comparing the previous actuals, the current amended budget, and then the proposed budget here. Salaries and benefits account for 69%, contract services 16% of the general fund expenditures, materials and supplies 8%, and transfers 7%. Those transfers include a breakdown here of allocations out to the internal service fund, general liability, motor pool funds, and then transfer out to debt service and capital. Another breakdown of the expenditures by department for the general fund. So still that same total amount here, just a different view of the departments. The non-departmental 5.16 is all of those transfers out. They're not owned by a certain department. They're considered non-departmental. This is another view of the fund balance structure of the general fund. This is also included in the staff report, and we go into detail about the assigned reserves. We're showing here per our policy level, the council policy level of reserving 10% of the expenditures. So in the green column, that's the proposed budget for 25-26, and we have 5.3 million set aside in reserves for that budget shortfall. Again, the VLF restriction for that budget strategy 2 of 2.3 million. I believe City Manager Woodhouse shared a recent letter that we sent over in support of and signed by the Vice Mayor in support of supporting the budget at the state level. So those VLF shortfall amounts are included, but we're waiting to hear the final adoption on those. We have our other reserves as set aside by policy of the facility maintenance, compensated absences, child care reserve, legal reserves. This leaves us with an assigned fund balance of 10.1 million, which is again 19.1% of operating expenditures. We're a little bit above the two months worth of operating expenditures that GFOA recommends for an unassigned fund balance. This slide talks about other funds. Again, we talk about other funds in our staff report as well, but this is a nice overview by category of the special revenue and capital funds, debt service funds, enterprise funds, and internal service fund. In the budget book, all of our funds, all 34 something amount of our funds are presented in the budget book with their own page, so you can review the revenues and expenditures for each of those funds. Just to note that the fund balances in these charts, as well as attachment 7, our fund balance summary, includes investments in capital assets and depreciation. So what that means is it does not represent cash balance for those enterprise and internal service funds. Now I'm going to hand it back to Assistant City Manager Carter.
Thank you. And I want to finish presentation on a very positive note to touch base on the budget recognition that we received this year for the current year's 24-25 operating budget. I'm very excited to share that the City of Pacifica is a proud recipient of prestigious Budget Excellence Award from both Government Finance Officers Association of US and Canada, also known as GFOA, and also California Municipal Finance Officers Association, that's a state association. And we received the third consecutive year award for GFOA, listed here, and the second consecutive year from CSMFO. And in both cases, we actually managed to improve on the previous achievement. So the GFOA award was awarded with special recognition. meaning that it's given when all three reviewers, independent reviewers, gave the highest possible score in a particular category. And the CSMFO award was granted as a Operating Budget Excellence Award, as opposed to Meritorious Award from the previous year. And here again, I feel privileged today to be able to give shout out to the entire city staff, and especially the finance and budget team here, to share some feedback on how our budget was ranked by independent judges, to highlight and celebrate our collective success here. I'm not going to read all the comments listed here. There were actually specific quotes from the reviewers. But I want to note again that in order to receive the GFOA award, the document must satisfy nationally recognized guidelines in 4 major categories and to be ranked proficient in all 4 of them. So we achieved this task, and as you can see in the category of policy document, the budget was ranked as outstanding, receiving the top score. Again, great achievement by the entire city team here, but all the other categories, budget as a financial plan, operations guide, and communication device were also ranked as a proficient. And in category of CSMF4 recognition, in order to receive the Budget Excellence Award, the budget must be rated proficient in 43 different evaluation criteria. 20 of them are considered to be meritorious-based award criteria, so we achieved it last year and received the meritorious award. But again, for the current year's budget, we were able to accomplish 23 additional excellence award criteria and received the recognition for the Budget Excellence Award. Tonight's meeting concludes our budget process with the formal adoption of the budget. And I would like to take a moment to thank our finance team, especially Marisol Gomez, Director of Finance and Administrative Services. And again, congratulations to her on her first budget with the city. I also want to thank financial analyst Stephanie Coy and Deputy Finance Director Lucy Shea. They're both here in the audience in the back, as well as Senior Accountant Spencer Tsen and Matt Pressey, our Financial Advisor from RHS, and Elizabeth Brooks, Management Analyst in City Manager's Office, for the exceptional work during this budget process and for some late nights and weekends that were put into preparation of this budget document. I also want to thank Deputy Directors Roland Yip and Louis Son, also in the audience in the back, as well as Dan Patton, Engineering Manager, and the entire Public Works team for preparing the CIP budget document. In addition, I want to thank the entire executive team for the time and commitment to the budget process. And I want to highlight again that the budget process, in my humble opinion, is the most collaborative process in the city that affects every single department, every single division, and quite a lot of staff members who work on this one way or another. And I think I can speak for Marisol here as well, greatly appreciate all the help that from department heads and management staff that was put into preparation of the documents, and specifically for the responsiveness and the collaboration during this budget process, in addition to all the other priorities that they have in front of them for the operational priorities. And I want to thank our city manager for his leadership, guidance, and incredible support throughout this process. And finally, I would like to thank the council for your authentic leadership, strategic vision, and priority settings, and sincere care for the quality of life in this community. And also thank you for your support and implementation of the highest standards and best practices in municipal budgeting. We are committed to continue enhancing the budget document to make it even more informative, transparent, and aesthetically pleasing for our community and public. And we believe that the budget documents that is before you tonight will continue complying with these high standards, as we are planning to submit for the board consideration again next year. And with that, I want to bring you back to the recommendations. So again, you have a number of resolutions before you that need to be adopted together with the budget. That concludes our presentation. We are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Assistant City Manager Carter and Marisol, and everyone who participated. I won't rename all their names, but it really is a team effort across all departments, and really appreciate your attention to detail and creativity, and creating a beautiful award-winning document too that we can really be proud of. So thank you so much. So with that, I'll open it up to council questions, clarifications.
Can I wait till after public comment?
You can. Yeah. Okay. I can't see Mayor Beckmeyer. I don't know.
And Vice Mayor Bowles, if you could go through the same process for public comment as well.
Mayor Beckmeyer, did you have any clarifying questions before?
I don't have any clarifying questions right now. I'm going to hold my questions till after public comment.
Okay. I will do the same then. I've got a bunch of questions. All right, so I'm going to read the rules for public comments again.
Vice Mayor Bowles, please ask if there's anyone online that
Yeah.
wishes to comment to raise their hand while you're reading that statement.
Correct. So I don't have any cards for this item, so if anyone would like to speak on the budget, please pick up a yellow card that will be brought up. And if anyone online would like to speak, we will be making a list after I read this statement. So public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments must address this particular item before us, which is the budget, the operating capital budget, the GAN appropriation limit, the citywide fee schedule, and the city's review of the investment policy. Those are the only things before us right now. If comments do not fall into this category, the city will provide you with an initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city on this topic. If the warning is not followed, I, the Vice Mayor, will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone. And throughout this warning system, I will seek assistance from the city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item before us. So with that, do we have any raised hands? No. Okay, perfect. And thank you, Myra. Okay, so I have 2 public comments. This is item 8, so just one. Sue Degree.
Hi, that last slide definitely showed impeccable, extreme hard work. Very difficult. Budget times are always difficult, and these years are definitely difficult. So I know at one former meeting, council meeting, it hit me that maybe we're putting all our eggs, or could be going towards putting all our eggs in one basket, which I think is always a worrisome thing, and that would be property tax. I would worry about that. So in our community in particular, so I'm not worried about every other community, but ours, we have wonderful amenities, our environment and all our culture and things like that. We do have businesses, our small businesses. I think this last week indicated how vibrant and even more productive those small businesses can be, and other businesses. It's really exciting to see there has been a change forward on that. And I think going forward with those sort of things are important. I think the one size fits all reminds me too of the housing thing. In my job since 1999, I'm around the county all over the place, and in the other county as well. So housing for truly affordable, to keep our infrastructure, I mean, people that can work to keep us going, including those merchants, we definitely need truly affordable housing. And so in the beginning it was all about all, meaning that. Now all means housing no matter what. My concern, people, is whenever I ask about water and sewage, all of a sudden I get the NIMBY label. You know, I think we have to be realistic and be honest about our researching. So you're talking about surveys where it says you must give a survey of things. I like that. We need to do that. And the other part is today I was meeting with a client in an apartment, big, huge apartment area in San Bruno, and I said, how many units are empty? Oh, lots, lots. When I pass around here in our own community and I go to the mobile home park, that sign has been there forever, and it's $3,300 for one bedroom facing storage units. All across the county in our area, there are new buildings with for rent signs on forever. We have to hit the facts. I'm all for capitalism and profit, but when profit means such profit that you have empty buildings and then we cry there's no housing, let's be realistic. Is there no housing? Is that the only thing that's going on here? Or is the cost of that housing prohibitive for the people, the infrastructure people that we need? I think profit to the point of killing off your fellow community members is killing off very valuable infrastructure, and we're people, we're not just streets, and we're going to pay for fire, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm very concerned about broad scope we have, go deep.
Thank you, Sue. With that, I don't see any other cards. I will close public comment and bring it back to council for questions and deliberation. Does anybody want to start? Nope. Well, I can start asking some questions if you're not ready. Okay. Could you please pull back up your revenue slide, Assistant City Manager Carter? This one? Yes, I think so, yeah. So I wanted to, if you could clarify a little bit about the vehicle license.
Setback just in case if out of 5.4 million we do not receive the backfill, that's when this will become handy at the mid-year. So this line item will be useful.
But that 2.3 million isn't already accounted for and spent in any way?
No, it's just the reserve. It's a designation or assigned balance of the reserve. So it's not allocated, yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. And then on your slide with general fund expenditures, I was trying to get into this before, but yeah, maybe I'll let you pull it up. Oh, this was just from her presentation, so it wasn't a packet page.
So here's this.
Give me 1 second.
If someone else wants to ask a question while she's looking that up.
And then just so I'm clear, Christine, this is on top of the answers that we received already.
Well, this is, right, so they listed out what we spent some of that money on last year,
Yes.
but I don't know what the additional 130,000 is, if it's for one of these things or all of these things, or.
Yep. So it's a mix of things. So they've noted housing element rezoning, EIR, some pending invoices or anticipated invoices, some additional on-call planning services for housing element support, shared housing staff from HART, and some additional on-call planning services from the M group, including PBF and housing element support from them. If you need more detail than that, we can speak with the community development director, see if she can provide any more feedback, but that's the list that
I'm just, yeah, I'm just trying to understand, because, again, this was a surprise to me. And then I know there's another 100,000 for housing element program implementation consulting. So I just want to make sure we're being really mindful about how we spend this limited money. So maybe that's enough. I was going to read again. I read it the last time, though. Again, the definitions of that particular fund are really for affordable housing, and my concern is that we're using it for a lot of, general housing element work, which, is a little bit of a portion. But is there, now that we're getting this extra 2.3 million potentially for the VLF, is there an option that some of that could go back into the housing fund if we chose?
No, I just want to clarify, we are not getting additional $2 million. It's already budgeted, and we already counting on this money in the budget.
Oh, I thought you just told me it wasn't budgeted for a particular item.
Well,
I know
we
it's a
talked about two
reserve.
different things. So the revenue is already budgeted and accounted for. The backfill assigned portion in the assigned portion of the general fund reserve is not allocated yet, and would be only allocated if we didn't receive the backfill, which is budgeted in the revenues. So if the state did not, I see the city managers.
No, go ahead.
If the state did not fund the backfill amount of 2.3 million, then at mid-year, we would come back and say, remember, we set this money aside, so we need to appropriate it, we need to fill this hole. But at this point, the revenue is already accounted for, and we don't anticipate additional 2.3 million.
All right, I understand. Thank you.
What I was going to say, if this helps, is just offer an analogy for this situation. Let's say you need $3,000 to pay your mortgage check this year and this month, and you are expecting a $1,000 check from the state, and from your job paycheck, you're going to pay $2,000 to meet your mortgage. The way the analogy is that we don't know if the $1,000 from the state is going to come, so you might have to dip into your small savings account in order to make your mortgage that month if the state money doesn't come. If the state money comes and you can make your mortgage, then you can save your savings account for future emergencies that you may need that for. And that's the whole point of our reserves policy, is to have that money for future economic emergencies, which we very well may have in the future years coming up. And I'll turn to Ms. Carter and Ms. Gomez to correct anything about my analogy, in case that helps.
No, I appreciate both of those explanations. I also wanted to go back and add that the portion that are attributed to the housing allocation, housing action funds are not 100% of the costs. I know the Community Development Department has capitalized on shared consulting services with the vendors that are doing other work that is in the general fund and paid for by the general fund. If they were to completely split that out, it would cost more to have another consultant work on just the housing action items. So they are being prudent and saving some costs there by having those shared consultant.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Anybody else have some questions?
I'll go ahead. So I have questions about the fee schedule. And I know as part of our goals and strategies, it says under goal number 1D, prepare the cost allocation plan and conduct the development, impact fee, and master fee studies. And so I know I talked about this last year too, but the tobacco license fee is extremely low. And so I'm wondering if that is when we would have the opportunity to talk about things like that? Is it during the master fee study?
I would say yes, like comprehensively, we're going to have all fees, user fees and other fees on the table during that time.
Correct. And the RFP process is in progress right now, so we are planning to start this process shortly after the beginning of the fiscal year. And typically, it starts with the cost allocation plan first to see how much the services are costing us, and then translates into the master fee schedule analysis. And as a side project, we also have development impact fees. So it's a really comprehensive review of all fees and that the city has right now, and maybe some new fees as well. So that's going to be, everything is going to be on the table. And the council will be involved, obviously, into making these decisions.
Okay, thank you so much. And then just for the public's knowledge, the tobacco retail license fee pays for compliance on our tobacco retailers. And it was much higher when we first passed it many years ago when I first started doing prevention work, like 2000, I don't even know how long ago, like 2008. And so over the years, it's gone down, and that means that we don't have money for compliance. So it would be really nice to be able to have some extra money to make sure that our tobacco retailers are not selling nicotine to our young people. That's all I have for this moment in time. And thank you for asking the questions about the VLF. That was also on my list, and so I feel like I'm well informed about that now.
Thank you. I had another question about the fee schedule while we're on that. I don't know if it's possible to pull up packet page 580.
What, 80?
580. And I see your hand, Sue. I'll get to you right after.
The city
Mayor.
clerk doesn't have the that readily handy, but she may be able to download it to be able to pull that up. But in the meantime, if we
ask
can
a
reference
question.
that.
Let me just pull it up. So this is where it talks about the consumer price index and the construction cost index, right? So right now, we're not raising our fees except just by those indices, is my understanding. And I was very confused about, or concerned about, the construction cost index actually being negative. So I was trying to dig into that a little bit. It refers to a particular source, which I looked online. So I wanted to understand a little bit more where that number came from, if this is, because there are indices that are for California and specifically San Francisco and LA that have higher numbers for construction valuations versus the whole country or the whole state.
I can talk just a little bit more about that. So we do utilize the engineering news record, and that's historically what we have used for the CCI index, which is applied to some of those engineering fees. And you're right, this year it's showing a negative number, so it's experiencing deflation instead of inflation. So when that happens, we don't reduce the fees, right? They essentially stay flat at that current rate. We did have some discussion about the month to pull from or not, but we want to also keep in line with the CPI and not pulling from, we talked with legal about this, and not pulling different months at different years that serve us. We need to be consistent in the months and the indices that we use. But this can also be addressed in the comprehensive fee schedule study. Some of the ideas we were thinking of is sometimes fee schedules have a 2% increase unless CPI or CCI is more, something like that, to avoid what happened this year where there's no increase at all and we fall farther behind on cost recovery.
Okay. Yeah, and so it was the engineering news record that I was looking at, and like I said, there was a separate listing for San Francisco and LA, so I'm curious if that's something that we can use, because it showed a higher number for 2024 at 2.3%, and it's obviously updated monthly. My concern is if this was all taken in December 2024, we have tariffs, we have, so construction costs have actually gone up a lot in these months between December and now in June. And so we could be charging extra money, right, that helps bring revenue to the city. So is it possible to look at a different date or the specific?
Yes, as I mentioned, we did discuss this with the legal team. We want to be consistent from year to year, and the comprehensive fee study is the best opportunity to address that because it doesn't show inconsistency, and then we're not subject to someone who's asking about Proposition 218 and saying that we're not charging correctly and we're not using a good nexus to charge. So that's why.
So it doesn't really relate to Prop 218, but Ms. Gomez is correct. The issue with regard to just making changes midstream is we need to provide notice. And so any change would require a hearing, notice, and then the adjustment wouldn't take place until, council actually approved it. It could go into effect right away, but what we recommended to staff was that we will incorporate this into our normal fee schedule update, which we do annually.
Okay.
And there, to your point, it was a very, great question, right? We need to think about things like this when we are drafting those master fee schedules where we're looking at all of our fees, not just, this particular fee.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll get to that. Thank you. That's yours. Mayor Beckmeyer?
Thank you. It's kind of along the same lines around fees and why we collect them. And it goes to the questions you were raising, Christine, about the housing funds being used for consulting work related to the housing element. What I wanted to clarify or make sure I'm understanding correctly is that, and we've had public comment in the past, I noticed it when it came up on today's listing when Ms. Gomez was presenting. At the bottom of a particular slide, there was a percentage of where our budget goes. And it showed the majority, about 69%, went to salaries and benefits for current employees. And I think it was 16% goes to consultants, if I recall. And so the whole point here is there was another chart that broke down our general fund expenditures by department as a percentage of total. And I remember early in my council career needing to understand, and I continue to ask questions of the city manager about the fees that are charged by community development and by engineering, I think, when we have development proposals that are brought forward. And so the thing that always strikes me is that there's so much work that needs to get done by the community development department, but it's a relatively small head count. And even within that, going back to my earlier question about the vacancy rates we've had, a high vacancy rate in that department. So it's very, the way we filled that vacancy rate has been to use outside consultants. That's one thing. We also bring in, it sounds to me like with specific regard to this housing question that you had, we've brought in outside consultants to specifically assist us with parts of our housing element that relate to affordable housing specifically. And that where we have specialized consulting support in that arena. And my understanding is we need to do that. We need to bring in those consultants. And the question is it a justifiable use of that housing fund money to do that? And my understanding of why we do it is because in this round of RENA, against which this housing element is being developed, we have had an increased amount of below market rate housing requirements. And we hear it often in public comment. We heard it tonight in some of the comments about affordability. And so this is a really long-winded lead up to, is that why we're bringing in these consultants to specifically focus on that element of our housing element, that part of our housing element? Because we're really zeroing in on how to incorporate the affordability for very low income and providing far below market rate income housing. That's the question.
Thank you, and I see.
Yeah, thank you for that. Community Development Director Updegrave will address the housing element work to date and actions upcoming, and a lot of it is driven toward affordable housing policies in the document, but there's a lot there, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha Updegrave, Community Development Director. I think there are several things happening with the housing element, and some of the work is, there's I think a lot of focus on the affordable housing. So things like supporting our work with HEART, the ADU Resource Center, excuse me, and the overall housing element adoption and implementation. So things like the work on public sites, for example, that was in this current budget, or budget for 25-26, right, really focuses on affordable housing, right, and meeting our lower income RENA. So that funding is funding several different programs.
And so to Christine's earlier question about use of funds from the housing fund toward developing these policies and developing the housing element, I think the question, that I'm hearing her ask, although she hasn't asked this directly, so I guess part of my question is this your question, Christine? Is this an appropriate use of these funds?
Right.
Because it sounds to me like you may question whether that's accurate. And that's why I was trying to probe about why do we need these consultants with specific regard to affordable housing? Because yes, I agree with you, we do need affordable housing, but we have to have the plans to get to that place. So that's a clarifying question really for you, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, that's exactly my question. I mean, yes, we need all kinds of housing, and yes, we have inclusionary requirements that any project, have a few units. Even those aren't necessarily very low income, right? And, the definition of our Housing Action Fund was really to promote affordable housing policies and projects is what I read in the budget book before. And then actually on packet page 308, that's talking about it, actually says redirecting funds from Housing Action Fund, Fund 221, would further limit the city's ability to make progress on affordable housing initiatives, which is one of the city's key strategic goals. So there's even, admitting that that is pulling away from those goals that are really for affordable housing in particular, right, to direct funds to the housing element rezoning and EIR and other things that need to be done as part of that. So that's where I was just trying to find other sources of money, because we're not putting money into that fund now, right? And we've been taking out of it every 2 years. And HCD, beyond getting our housing element implemented, they're actually going to be looking for us to actually build some affordable housing projects and other housing projects too, but the affordable housing needs the most help, and we've built none of that for 30 years. So it's really important money that we need to be mindful of, is my point.
If I could,
Right, and I think from my point of view, I just want to say, I'm satisfied that the money that's being taken from that fund for the purposes that Director Updegrave just outlined is an appropriate use of those funds. Because I agree with you, in order to develop affordable housing, a very low income eligible affordable housing, those plans have to be in place. The zoning has to be in place. All of those pieces have to be in place for us to qualify for that bigger chunk of funding we're actually going to be seeking and needing to get that housing built. And that would be coming through the county and through ARC and other sources. Is that correct?
yeah, and I did just want to clarify that, getting our housing element readopted, doing the environmental impact report on the rezoning, passing the rezoning program, these are all related to affordable housing. This is our really critical framework. And so that work is absolutely tied to affordable housing.
And if I could just add a couple clarifications regarding the reference on packet page 308, what that is saying is that if we're taking excess ERAF money and not putting it in both the Housing Action Fund and the Disaster Accounting Fund, then it is removing funding from those causes. So we need the excess ERAF to balance our budget this year, which is a big change. That's what that point is saying. So certainly that is a revenue source in a normal or good year that should go into both the Housing Action Fund and the Disaster Accounting Fund. It's not available for that this year. Now, from the Housing Action Fund, I guess what I'd like to say, it's a little bit messy because there's not these isolated buckets of all the expenses related to building ADUs, all the expenses related to building affordable housing, all the expenses related to market rate housing. They're all integrated. And the housing element work, the policy work, the PBF fellow, all these consultants are contributing to make this all possible. So it is related to affordable housing and us having the policies to be able to develop those. So that's how we view it. It's not a clean, allocation of expenses of this consultant's going to work on market rate housing and this one's going to work on affordable housing. They're integrated, and we can't make progress on any of it unless we get that fundamental work done.
And I would just add that if there's any concern by the council that staff is not looking for ways to use this Housing Action Fund in a way so that it is most effective for affordable housing, I would have to say one of the most common questions that I get from Pacifica staff, this approach is being taken by most cities because of the six-cycle RENA and having to expend a lot of additional monies based on that sixth cycle. And I'm just saying anecdotally that I get more questions from our staff here in Pacifica about, can we use this money to supplement this consultant's work, right? So I get questions about how can we use this money for affordable housing. more so than really any other city. So we are on top of it, from, in my opinion, in terms of making sure that we are allocating resources out of Housing Action Fund, specifically for affordable housing, and making sure that to the extent they are working on projects that tangentially relate to affordable housing, they're using the correct funding for that supply, or service, sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you, and I'll let it go. And I appreciate that you're looking at it very carefully.
Was Sue finished? If not, I'd like to add something to that conversation.
She's good.
She's all good?
Okay.
I agree with your concern. I would ideally love to see that money go to 100% affordable projects. I think staff has done a wonderful job trying to find appropriate ways to utilize those funds to offset a whole series of bad choices that they have with an $8 million shortfall. And I think that they've worked absolute miracles to come up with a balanced budget when they started out with an $8 million hole.
Yeah.
And I wish it was different. I really do. I want to recognize staff for what they did along those matters. But I think this is one of those choices that isn't ideal, but they're doing the best they can with the tools that we've given them. And I think we have a lot of work to do to give them more tools to do more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
And that, just on that one particular issue, that's all I have to say. I have more on other things, so.
What else you got? Go for it, Greg.
I'm concerned about part of that presentation where they were talking about a wave of coming retirements, and I'm concerned about our future budgets and pension liabilities and what kind of shape are we in, and have we considered everything we can do now to prepare for that later? I mean, I know this is not exactly a very flexible budget, but we don't have a choice about that. And I have concerns, and I want to make sure that particularly Marisol and Yulia are comfortable with that. Of course, Kevin, I'm concerned about you too, but I'd like to hear a little bit about how concerned should I be about that?
Well, it's a loaded question. So the budget that is before you included difficult choices for council, and you made those choices in the last, previous study sessions. And yes, those choices included underfunding our pension liability trust and a few other difficult decisions that you had to make. And long term, it's not sustainable. In the short term, that was the option that we recommended to fund other priorities, and you did that. So it's again, if you're talking about long-term financial sustainability, I just want to kind of point back to city manager's address at the beginning of this presentation. I mean, we definitely need to focus on revenue-generating strategies, and again, we are doing that, right? So you're doing that. And the development impact fees and the user fee schedule and cost allocation plan, all of this feeds into, and the revenue study session that we are planning later on, all of this feeds into this goal. So with that, again, long-term, yes, all of this is very concerning. But tonight you have a balanced budget before you for adoption.
Yeah. And I'd also like to thank Kevin for reading that in the beginning, a very clear, we're out of rabbits statement.
Yeah.
And I think it's incumbent upon us to help them get some more rabbits.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to that challenge. I also wanted to get some clarity. Am I misinterpreting it? But doesn't Parks and Rec bring in actually a lot of revenue in comparison to their budget? They're not just a huge expense. They actually generate a fair amount of revenue as well.
Well, it's self-sustaining, right?
We haven't done the cost benefit analysis specifically, but typically Parks and Recreation never fully cost recovered. function of the city. Again, that's one thing we will look into when we do the master fee schedule and the cost allocation plan. But yes, the fees are currently in place. Well, and again, our Parks, Beach, and Recreation Director can speak more to that. We definitely look into getting the maximum cost recovery as we can, given some constraints, right? So we still need to subsidize maybe some of the programs related to children, seniors, and things like that. So again, that's going to be a policy decision by the council when we bring back the master fee schedule, what kind of subsidy is fair for what specific purposes.
I just see it as a bit of a bright spot in an otherwise not so bright budget picture. You know, I wanted to have at least one positive thing.
Well, correct, and that's the goal of all departments, to provide the maximum service level to this community, given the constraints we have, and that's exactly what's in the budget before you.
Did you have any questions, Councilmember Espinoza? Okay. I have two other just minor ones, and actually they're really just suggestions for the budget book, but on packet page 521, that is our long-term debt payment schedule. I couldn't find, so this shows the principal and interest that we'd be paying every year, for projects back to 2014 that we've been borrowing from, but I didn't see like a list of like outstanding balances anywhere for all these funds, and that if it's in here, maybe you can point me to it, and if not, maybe that's something easy to add to this chart that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think we can add that. We typically provide that in the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, but we can totally add that to the budget book.
Okay, thank you. Just to keep us mindful of the money we owe too, besides the money that we're trying to get. All right. And then on page 732, which I think is the final budget, let me just pull it up. This is the summary of the fund balances. So again, back to the Housing Action Fund. So I'm just trying to really understand what our balance is. And so this shows a balance of $2,428,385. But my understanding is that does not yet take out the $412,000 for the temporary safe parking.
Correct. So the other action, the $412,000 will be encumbered and expended this fiscal year. Mm-hmm. And once it happens, it will be captured throughout the year-end process and the year-end audit, right? So the final audit. So when we bring the budget back to you at mid-year, you will see this, because typically when you see this first green column on this page, projected fund balances as of 6/30/25. So this is what we know today and the action that have been taken at mid-year. And once the year end happens and the books are closed, we'll update this column with the audited balances. And that's where we are going to capture this expense.
Okay. As we're talking to affordable housing developers, we can tell them we have about $2 million to work with.
Well, yeah. Essentially, yes. But again, there is a process how we do the budget, right? So we are consistent with,
okay,
like actuals will be included once the actuals happen.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. If no one else does, I'll entertain a motion. And do we need to correct the page numbers since we don't have an attachment A that was in the resolution?
Sue's got her hand up.
Oh, Sue, sorry. Thank you, Mary.
I actually have a question about the capital projects. Is that part of this motion? Or is the capital budget because this is a comprehensive motion, right, for the general fund and capital
Yes.
projects budgets. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a total budget,
Okay.
yeah.
So before we make the motion and approve the budget, I want to bring something forward that has been mentioned to me multiple times and is in alignment with some of what the city manager said earlier at the very outside of this item. With specific regard to visitor serving, and with specific regard to the Rockaway Beach neighborhood. And so I'm not saying at this hour, which is 7:02 a.m. where I am, I'm inventing a new capital project. I just want to understand the point at which we would have an opportunity to do that. And this specifically relates to parking issues in Rockaway Beach. And so I imagine some of what is being considered, asked for, mentioned by the community of business people in that area would cost some money, and it would be capital. So that's got to come from somewhere. Is this a mid-year budget thing to bring forward? Is this something that needs to wait until goal setting for next year? I just want to understand, because I, like the vice mayor, have noted with dismay the number of capital projects that we have in our presentation and in our book, and how many of them are not funded. And I acknowledge that our general fund can't support that. So I want to figure out how we kind of at least begin discussing something that we can't afford.
That's a great question, Mayor Beckmeyer. Thank you for that. The first question that I would ask is perhaps Deputy Director Yip could just come up to confirm that there's not anything in the CIP related, capital-wise, related to parking improvements in Rockaway. I'm not certain on that. And Mr. Yip's here, so he can speak to that, and then I might have some additional thoughts.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, Roland Yip, Deputy Director of Public Works / City Engineer. The Rockaway parking improvements is in the CIP report, is on packet page 696. There's two projects in there. There's the Rockaway parking area, and there's to construct a new parking area per the Rockaway Beach specific plan from 1986, and that's a $4,300,000 project. And the second project is Rockaway Beach parking structure, and this is to construct a new parking structure on Old County Road per the same Rockaway Beach specific plan from 1986. That project is $10,200,000.
And so thank you, Mr. Yip. And what I would follow up on that is this is a prime example of the infrastructure needs that the city has. The capital dollars I mentioned, in the transmittal, more than 200 million needed, but we need to be looking at what is our long-term strategy to be able to fund these improvements. So one is development impact fees and the parking in lieu fee that we have, and if there's a development that's occurring in that region and they're paying the parking in lieu fee or they're building parking, then that's one way that those projects get funded, or that we create funding for those projects. Another is what's in the budget currently in looking at tax increment districts for West Sharp Park or Rockaway, or both combined into a tax increment district, and that's a long-term funding mechanism to capitalize dollars for infrastructure improvements, the EIFD, the Enhanced Infrastructure Facilities District, I think is what that stands for. So that's another mechanism that's an example of how we strategically plan for large capital dollars for these improvements. And then there's other, I think some of this is really what we want to dig into when we have a revenue strategy session, you know, in a big picture perspective to say, look, we have all of these other capital projects we need, and what are the different mechanisms for getting there? You know, there could be voter-approved revenue measures that are going to fund infrastructure improvements. There could be, you know, any number of things. So it's a great question. I think you're hitting on the difficult challenge that we have facing Pacifica's reality. And I don't have a super great answer, but it's any and all of those.
And I just want to add, I was just looking up the balance of the parking and lieu fee. It's $148,000, so not enough to build a parking structure yet.
Barely enough for one parking space.
Yeah, but also
Right.
I was remembering the local coastal plan, the SSRA mitigations. I think the Coastal Commission added looking at a parking structure in Rockaway, you know, as one of those potential projects. So it is something they're looking at too. So, I mean, that'll be part of our work in the next year on the coastal adaptation.
Yeah, and to that point, you really hit on it. I mean, we don't get in lieu fees unless, or we don't get community benefits or project improvements unless projects are approved and built in town. And that's why our housing in lieu fee, our parking in lieu fee, our park in lieu fee are all very low balances.
Yeah, and then just looking for grants, understanding the capital improvements. Part of my discussion with the Coastal Conservancy was about the Rockaway Bridge, and that's something they're very interested in funding, for example. So if we can start knocking off some of the others, we can save our money for other priorities.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Kevin, I'm really glad to hear some of the revenue things that we've been talking about for a while now starting to come out in public, and I really do look forward to that meeting later this summer where we're going to be able to bring all those ideas to the table and actually work on solving this bigger problem we have. And then I wanted, you've mentioned a couple of times now the $200 million number. I just wanted to be clear that in my estimation, that does not include any of the natural methods of dealing with sea level adaptation and sea level rise. Is that true or false?
So that's a very round general number, but that, if you're referring to, you know, the artificial reef concept that has been talked about, it doesn't include that. That number includes, you know, storm drain estimate projects, the Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project, streets improvements, the millions that are needed there, facilities improvements and more. But there's a lot of different other projects that could come
beach nourishment, for example,
forward. Yeah. Right. So
it's not in an CIPs now, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a point.
No, the infrastructure needs are
immense.
Immense, more than that. That's just like, if we could get that amount, you know, that would be good.
Okay.
So that was my point. And I did want to get the parking issue on the table. And I did send you that article, Kevin, about the enhanced increment financing district project that's happening in some other city. You know, not specifically in relation to this exact project that has been suggested by merchants and restaurateurs in Rockaway, but just because this is an area that we really are going to be needing to look going forward. So I felt like it's appropriate to bring it forward in this conversation, even though we're not developing that project right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
I want to do a time check. Weren't we supposed to do something at 10 o'clock?
Yes.
And what are we supposed to do at 10?
Do you believe that you can finish the items by 11 o'clock? And if not, which items do you want to continue? We only have excuse me, we only have 2 items left
Yeah, we
after
can
this
hard
one, which
stop.
are the consent items.
Hard stop
I
at
say
11.
hard stop at 11.
I think we can stop at 11, yeah. Okay.
Go, Mary.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the following resolutions. 1, adopt the resolution approving the FY 2025-26 operating and capital budget. 2, adopt the resolution establishing the GAN appropriation limit for FY 2025-26. 3, adopt the resolution approving the citywide fee schedule, including as Exhibit A to the resolution. 4, adopt the resolution approving the city's annual review of the investment policy, including as Exhibit A to the resolution. Is there anything else I needed to change in that?
So we didn't have an Exhibit A, so that's where I thought we needed to read the,
The page numbers for the Exhibit As were referenced in the staff report and are included in the budget book with the referenced page numbers from the staff
And
report.
to the extent there are changes that will be made, they're administrative changes, so we can make them without
great.
council approval.
Second.
I will second that motion.
I heard the motion made by Councilmember Beer, and Councilmember Wright beat Mayor Beckmeyer to the second. I'll start the roll call vote with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Aye.
Councilmember Beer.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
aye.
And Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And the item number 7, budget, passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. So now we'll go back to the consent calendar. So there were 2 items. Should we do them together? We were talking about that, so we just had one public comment, but,
Yes, you could, we could do, answer council questions and talk about these items together, do one public comment for both of the items, and the same procedures for inviting public comment should apply. But
And it may be, given the late hour, that it's best to take both of them together and then just have one public comment period, and then the council can vote on both, similarly as you would with any other, consent agenda.
okay. Should I just ask my questions since I pulled those, or should we?
I think you should
That's a good
ask.
starting point, yes.
Okay, all right. So I'll start, and then you all, feel free to chime in too. So,
I have a question about that, because you did pull the item, so isn't there a staff report then?
well, that's what I was just asking.
Oh, okay.
So item 3 is about the job classification. So this is for the new economic development housing manager.
So are we going to be talking about both items at the same time?
I guess they are
Yeah.
very different, but
Look-
yeah, sure.
So let's just be clear about which item that we're talking about, if you have questions.
Yeah, she said I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. So my main question on the job classification, so when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, it was mentioned that Burlingame, South San Francisco, and Belmont had similar positions where they combined economic development and housing specialists. And so I looked at those 3 because what was missing to me is actually any mention of affordable housing in the job description or in the experience. And then I have examples from all 3 of those cities that actually do have that language in them, which I would like to read and consider, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about how the classification came from, and if
Sure,
if it's
yeah,
something that
I'm
we
happy
can-
to talk a little bit, and then Ms. Carter can add for anything that I leave out. One approach with job classifications is they don't capture all of the tasks and functions of that job, but the economic development and housing development manager position does talk about the city's housing program, and the city's housing program includes work on affordable housing and all of the other housing as well, ADUs and such. So this position, and there's always a function in our job classifications that is general, that the position, if I can read it here, performs duties as required, would be working on these priority housing and economic development programs. The housing, again, that's implementing the housing element, which includes work on affordable housing, and the council's strategic plan, which emphasizes affordable housing as well. So the work related to affordable housing is part of this position. It's just not specifically called out in the job classification. It's the council's discretion should you want to add that, specifically. And I have a simple edit recommendation that I would also share, but I'm happy to hear what the council would like to say about that.
And we're not deliberating yet until we've had public comment. Right, so just questions or?
No. I have a question. I'm assuming, okay, wait, a question. So would there be 2 separate work plans for each, for like economic development and housing, like super specific, like, I don't know. I know there's a public comment about it.
And I do have a question, because those two things are very different than each other. So housing is a different animal than dealing with businesses. And I would like to see those two separately, because actually, like affordable housing, you have to be an expert to know those things. So I don't think that one person can do both, especially we really need more input about small businesses. They really, really need help.
So Myra, I'm just going to, do you have a question right now? And then you can say what you want and what you think after public comment.
Okay.
Is
Well,
there a
that was
question?
like, I wanted to see also have more specific language on the job description. So I don't know if I have to say it later or.
Yeah, okay, I know. It's just process, right? Okay, any other questions about that item? And then I'll ask my questions on item 7. We're going to do them both together. Okay, so this is the sewer system management plan that is on packet page 155. And City Manager Woodhouse mentioned a couple of things that were missing that would get cleaned up. But I wanted to understand this a little bit more, so I actually wouldn't mind hearing from, I see our Director Lewis Sun stepping up to the microphone. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this plan and why we need to do it now and what's included here.
Sure. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. Lewis Sun, Deputy Director, Public Works, Wastewater. So this sewer system management plan is a collection of our protocols and our policies when it comes to maintaining the sewer collection system. And this is a requirement from the state regional water board from the state, and it's a mandate that each agency that has a sewer collection system would need to have such plan in place. And this plan is subject for audit and also subject for recertification. So the latest state mandate is that recertification would take every 6 years, and audit would happen every 3 years. So this year, we happen to be up for our recertification. So the staff has brought the updated SSMP to council for consideration for recertification. And our deadline for this is August 2nd. We need to have that recertified by then.
Okay, and we only have one other council meeting between now and then, so that's why it's important. Okay. Just on packet page 222, 223, it just talked about the communications around it and the importance of this open public forum for public engagement and understanding and commenting, and that's part of the reason I wanted to pull it, to explain. And then, so if I can ask a couple of technical questions on packet page 166, and I guess we still can't pull anything up, City Clerk?
Yes, give me a moment.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, would you like to start with pages 222 to 223 or page 166 for your questions?
166. I'll get back to the other one after public comment. So I'm just looking at the chart down there, and if you can scroll up a little bit, Sarah, so we can see the whole thing. I just thought it would be helpful to get a little explanation. So I see like the Clara Creek is in the top white column in both the spill rate and the net volume spills. So can you just explain this a little bit and like what the different categories are, 1, 2, and 3?
Sure. So this is a screenshot from the state page called CWIC, and this is where every agency would upload their report, their annual report, and if there's any spill that happens, sanitary sewer overspill, all that will go into this database system. It's called CWICS. In terms of the category, there are essentially 3 main categories that measure the spill. Category 1 is the most severe, and Category 3 is the least severe in terms that the measurement for the 3. I have here with me is our consultant from Fisher Compliance, and Mr. Rick Cunningham. And Mr. Cunningham can probably explain in a little bit more detail in terms of the 3 different categories.
Thank you for staying with us this late. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cunningham.
Good evening, members of the council. Rick Cunningham, Fisher Compliance, general operating partner at the firm, 40-plus years in sewer system management. The categories are designed to look at the impact of what a particular spill would be on the environment. And a Category 1 is the most severe because it is a spill which has gotten to a storm drain and then ultimately entered the waters of California or the waters of the U.S., which for all intents and purposes are merged together. A Category 2 is one that is greater than 1,000 gallons but has not reached a state source or a federal, and therefore is not considered to having been an impact on the environment. And then Category 3 are the small miscellaneous spills, which occur, which numerically are the most common because the staffs usually get on the situation quickly to contain the spills and prevent them from entering into the environment.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just curious about the number at the bottom, the 15,414, which seems like a high number compared to the other averages. And then just wanting to understand, is this like the 3-year period of the past audit, or what is the time frame of this chart?
This is a snapshot. It is not an historical record here in this particular picture of CWICS. CWICS, by the way, stands for the California Integrated Water Quality Control System. Okay, and it's statewide. There's 1,200 sewer systems in California, and everybody's tied into it. What this is a running average, a running total as of the moment at which this picture was taken. And in this situation here, it represents a narrow time frame, so it's not the number of gallons spilled over, say, 10 years or 15 years or something like that. This is in the last reporting period.
So is this saying that we've had 15,414 gallons of spills in the last year?
Yes, that's the number of gallons per 1,000 capita. Don't you love these statistics? It gets worse, okay. But the answer to that is true, and so there have been a number of spills which have been reported and are included in the CWIX database. Perhaps Louis has a comment on any of those?
Just to add on to Mr. Cunningham's answer, so over the last reporting period, city has experienced certain SSOs that occur, and we do provide that information to the state, and we document that and we put in the estimated number of gallons that has come out. Usually it's because collection system where there might be blockage or there could be roots that's causing manholes to overspill. Most of the time, city staff will be alerted, and we capture that and using our vacuums to clean it and disinfect it. So, but it does happen periodically throughout the year.
Also, spills that are caused, believe it or not, by excess rainfall, where too much rainfall gets into the sanitary system and then spills over, those are charged against the city, even though they are natural events. So it's not as though there's been some form of misstep or competency issues. It's simply a matter of system capacity. And then when you get hit by a heavy rain event, there is a influence and inflow rate that will jam up the sanitary sewer, even though it's stormwater. But nevertheless, those spills have to be accounted for.
Okay. And then, so this is just the last year, and I noticed that the audit for the last 3 years is posted online. I couldn't find it earlier, but maybe it was just added, or maybe I missed it. And that also, so the audit report also talked about some of the spills. Is asking for those to be addressed in the new sewage system management plan. So I'm wondering if those have been included and addressed in here.
Yes, Councilmember Bowles, in the new cleaned up version of the SSMP, we do have the audit report for the last 3 years embedded in the SSMP under Appendix 10. So in the new version that staff will be presenting, and it's included in there. And it does address any spills that has happened in the last 3 years, reporting period from 2021 to 2024.
Okay, so there are policies in here that address the audit. Fine. I found one in particular that was on their higher list of violations for D1, failure to prevent discharges of sewage to surface waters of the state, Category 1 spills, 326 gallons. So it asked for specific things to be included in the new management plan. So you're saying that those have been addressed?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
And they're in the draft that we saw, or?
So in the SSMP, it will document how staff has addressed these spills and what the remediation and the correction is, and then also prevention for any future spills.
Okay, I'll go back and read it again later. Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions on those two items from any other council members? I can't see Sue.
Before Louis leaves the podium, I did have a question to put my understanding into the right context on this particular issue with sanitary sewer overflows, spills, and the questions you were asking, Vice Mayor Bowles. If I heard correctly, it was 15,000 gallons was was the concern about spills, the cumulative over the last year. Is that accurate?
Yes, I believe from the snapshot that it was showing, it was 1,500 gallons that was recorded last year for that category.
1,500 or 15,000?
15,000, correction.
And during one of our big storm events, how many gallons does our plant handle? I'm not talking in average, I'm talking in the peak flow times on storm events.
At a large storm event, the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant can handle up to 20 million gallons of flow. And that's something that it can be sustained in a short amount of time, but it's not sustainable. We can sustain up to 16 million gallons of flow. But anything beyond that, it would start to reduce our capacity and our treatment capacity.
So 16 million gallons. And then going to what I excluded before, on an average day, average not storm day, what would the capacity be? Or the normal amount that our plant would handle?
On a dry season, our average is between 2 to 2.5 million gallons a day.
2 to 2.5 million gallons a day. Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, if there are no more questions, we'll open up public comment. And again, this is for both items 3, the job classification, and 7, the sewer system. And I don't have any cards right now. If anybody in the public wants to speak, bring me a card. And I will read the statement. And if anyone who is online wants to raise their hand,
And
we
they
will
should raise them now.
raise them now, and then we will count them after I read the statement. So again, and thanks for your patience, everyone. Public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments on must relate to the agenda item. So again, the job classification or the sewer system management plan within the subject matter of the jurisdiction of the city. If comments don't fall into these categories, we will provide you with initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the topic. If the warning is not followed, I will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone. And throughout the warning system, I will seek assistance from the city attorney identifying comments not related to the agenda item. Okay, with that, are there no one online? Okay, there's no one. Is there anyone in the public? I don't have any cards. So, okay, well then I will close public comment and bring it back to council. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I think in general, there is concern about either the position working too much on housing or too much on economic development. So I guess the more clarification that we can provide for our public, the better we'll be moving forward. That's my comment.
I mean, I can address this a little bit. So I think one of the things to start with is housing deals and mixed use and economic development deals are extremely complicated. And the intent of this economic and housing development manager position is to bring someone, if you look at qualifications required, knowledge of theory, principles, and practices of economic, housing, and community development, land use economics, demographic research, and grant writing, concepts, precedents, principles, laws, practices, methods, standards, innovations in the field of city planning, redevelopment, public administration, urban economics, of relevant land use. So this position is bringing resources to the city that we don't have to work on any projects with community development, with public works, with Ms. Carter, with myself, to help us deliver those projects, to help negotiate the disposition and development agreements, all of the stuff that's required. And affordable housing components are integrated into that. One month, it may be working with heart on, a particular developer and why they're, whether they're going to pay affordable, BMR in lieu fees or build the units or whatever. And the next month, they might be working on talking with Kimco about why they should be redeveloping mixed-use housing in the back of the Lindemar project, which is part of our housing element. So just trying to express that this is a resource that's not bucketed in one thing or another, but is working on all of these projects together. It's a resource, it's an expertise that the city doesn't, we have it on staff, through myself to an extent, through Ms. Carter, through Ms. Updegrave, et cetera, but it's bringing more horsepower to actually delivering projects, getting things built in the city, which benefits housing, benefits economic development, benefits all the revenue that we've been talking about.
Thank you so much.
Well, I just want to go back to, I still think if we're spending 40% or 60% of this person's salary from the Housing Action Fund, I would like to at least mention the words affordable housing somewhere. And I'll just read you a couple of sentences. So South San Francisco is actually kind of a different job because they mix Director of Economic and Community Development, but Burlingame and Belmont have a similar housing manager, and then there are cities that are a little bit closer to our size too. So Burlingame, one sentence says, act as project manager for city-sponsored affordable housing projects, carrying such projects from site acquisition through financing, contract administration, dispute mediation, and completion. So I'm curious if you see that as, some of the potential tasks for this person.
That's there, just not explicitly stated. So this position might be project manager for a house like that, or Ms. Carter might be the project manager, for that, or Ms. Updegrave. I mean, it's really, comes down to how I direct who's going to be working on what. I wouldn't want to include a very specific criteria in here that they are going to be the project manager always, because they might be working on some other really important deal, and I might need some other staff person to be the project manager specifically. And I think that's where it comes to, like, our approach is to try to make job classifications sufficiently general so that we can direct them as needed from any given month, half year to year on what they're working on.
And I would just add that legal spends time with staff, working on what is this position, because we have to review every job classification for some of the reasons that city manager just noted. And so, my concern with this discussion, with looking at different job qualifications from other cities, we couldn't just take piecemeal things from other cities, because legal would have to sit down with staff if you're reconfiguring the position, because, there are legal reasons why we keep them general. And so, I think the better question for the city manager is, will this position, based on this job classification, be able to do these functions, right? That's the better question, because if the answer is yes, that's the intent of the imposition, and while specific tasks or duties may not be included in the classification, there may be a very good reason why it has not been put in there. And it could be a legal reason, it could be a staff intent reason about what this position should be. So
I understand, but I guess I'm concerned if 60% of the salary is from the Housing Action Fund, and we're sending this out to recruit people, we're not necessarily going to get someone with those skills, right? We're not even mentioning that that's important. So I'm curious, you had a suggestion about where we could add a word, and I could read.
Sure,
which is less specific.
In terms of recruiting, I want to draw the distinction between the technical job description and the recruitment brochure that goes out for positions. They are different.
Okay.
And work on housing and affordable housing will be in the job recruitment brochure, emphasizing that, as well as economic development. So the whole swath would be emphasized. Again, the actual job classification, job description is a separate technical document that has a lot of legal ramifications, within our HR system. So you often see that. Pick up any job recruitment brochure, and it really qualifies and paints a picture of what types of things this position will be working on, and the types of competencies that are needed.
Okay, so you mentioned at one point that there might be an easy place to just insert.
Yeah, so I mean, if the council would feel better about it, if you look, I don't have the packet page, but if you're looking at the
Page 46, I believe.
Oh, yeah, so the job description starts on packet page 45, and under essential functions, on page 46, packet page 46, the top bullet says, develops housing opportunities with developers, establishes loan opportunity marketing efforts, and develops effective application review, approval process, et cetera. It occurred to me, you could say develops housing opportunities with developers, comma, including affordable housing, comma, establishes loan opportunity marketing efforts, and develops effective application. That would insert a reference to affordable housing in there, making that clear. And I think we could easily add that at the direction of the council.
I think that'd be great. I don't know. However, and is that okay with you, Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay. Oh, Sue's got her thumbs up. Are you okay with that, Myra, too? Do we need a motion? I guess
Yes.
we're moving this.
Because we're going to need to have a motion to approve all the consent items. So when you make the motion, whoever is going to make the motion.
Take them one at a time. Do this one, and then we'll move on to the.
Are we allowed to do that because we
Yes.
took public comment on both?
Yes. Yeah. Because we did public comment on both.
Did you want to say that motion?
No, I would let staff make a recommendation on what the motion should say, and then I will say so moved.
That sounds.
So for item 3, it would be, I'm sorry,
I can read it.
Yeah,
Adopt a resolution approving the new classifications of economic and housing development manager and economic and housing development specialist, and include both in the unrepresented management and confidential employees resolution, and
as amended by.
as amended.
So moved.
Oh, sorry. Second.
Sarah, if you could take the vote, please.
And with the motion for item number 3 as amended, as stated by City Manager Woodhouse, the motion was made by Councilmember Wright, seconded by Councilmember Beer. I'll start the roll call vote with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa. Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
She's muted.
I lost my microphone. Yes.
And the motion for item number 3 as amended passes unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I move to adopt a resolution approving the recertification of the sewer system management plan for the city of Pacifica.
I have a couple more comments, but we can second and we can still talk. So I have a motion and a second. So, if I may, a map was not, of the sewer system was not included in the packet, and again, this is for public information too. We were given a little map, but were told that staff was working on a GIS conversion, and I'm just wondering if that GIS conversion that shows more detail that's required as part of that plan, it includes manholes and stormwater. They have a whole list of what's supposed to be in that plan, if that can be shared at some point when you post this document online.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, the map that we currently have in our CMMS system, mobile MMS, does include those kind of details, manholes and sewer line sections and so forth. And that information is going to be, we're working on converting that into a more of a usable file, like PDF format, and that can be shared. And that information, it will definitely be part of our SSMP.
Okay, yeah, and it would just be great if that was on the website, so the public can look at that too when you're able to do that image. Thank you. And then I just wanted to point out on packet page 222 and 223, where it talks about who's reviewing this plan on the compliance. I think it needs to say city council, and in several different places it says presenting to the board. At one point it talks about the council, COUNSEL, but I think all these references should be updated to say city council.
Sure, yes. I believe the template usually is referencing sewer district board members, but we'll definitely change that into addressing city council members.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great. That's all I had. So with that, we can take a vote.
I heard a motion for this item by Councilmember Beer. Was there a second?
By Councilmember Espinosa.
Okay, with the motion by Councilmember Beer and seconded by Councilmember Espinosa, I'll take the roll call vote for item number 7, the Sewer System Management Plan recertification. Starting with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa. Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us. And with that, I'll adjourn our meeting at officially 10:49.
Go enjoy your vacation, Mayor Beckmeyer. My goodness. Or get some rest.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Bowles, for handling that. You did a great job.
Good job.
Thank you, Councilmember Wright, for attending meetings for me, and I'll see you when I get back.
Enjoy your trip.